has been 2 years.
Yes.
And so we had a bit of a falling out over those 2 years.
Oh, that's true.
So I've seen a lot of speculation online. Most people got it wrong.
The only thing I can do now is look and say,
My personality is aggressive.
paint it!
I actually bought a plane.
Oh, there's Mr. Unrelatable, there's Mr. Jad.
Is it expensive to, have all these kids?
I would guess each child's probably 100 to 200K, somewhere in
A
that range.
year?
Do you want the best motivation? Sink yourself up to your eyeballs in debt, and then you have to work. We need to sue CNN right now. And it is un-American if they stop me from doing that. So we sued the crap out of them.
How much was it?
What is your net worth?
I don't know. If I had to guess, it's probably around...
Meet Kevin. Thank you so much for coming back on the Iced Coffee Hour. It has been years. The first question, did you take your private jet here?
I absolutely did. Thank you so much for inviting me back, first of all. It's so weird when I walked in here. I think one of the first things you said was, according to my records, you haven't been in this property since August of 21.
That was true. But you know what? Back then, we were doing the vlog channel. And so once a week, we would vlog everything. So it's really easy for me to look back at any point from 2021 to 2022, and we have a vlog of it. If it happened during the week, we filmed it. But it has been 2 years.
Yes.
And so we had a bit of a falling out over those 2 years.
Oh, that's true.
So we never addressed it. So I thought it would be interesting. We talk about what happened and just, move past it.
I think that's a
But
great idea.
I've seen a lot of speculation online. People have been
no.
saying it's one thing, it's another thing.
Bring it out there.
Most people got it wrong.
And I had no idea what we were going to talk about when I came here, so this is
We have a big outline. Yeah.
This is really exciting because
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, bring it on. But okay, let's hear
Yeah.
it. Do you want me to start or you start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start from my
All right.
perspective. I think this happened about a month before the boxing match. We were sitting around at sushi, and we were trying to convince you to come to Florida for the boxing match.
Okay.
And I remember Lauren, your wife, she was saying, Kevin, another trip. You got the kids. I don't know about it. And I remember putting my neck out there and saying something, Lauren, but it's for me.
Yeah.
It's my big thing. I've trained a lot for this. I'd love for Kevin to be there. And she looked and, okay, yeah, you could go. And I was so excited for that. And I remember you got there early. And I think you were collabing with a few other people in Florida. I'm like, wow, you got there early. That's cool. And I remember seeing your videos as you out there. And the night before the fight, we had this YouTube event that was like, everyone was together. You came, and I was a little disappointed that you left pretty quickly. It seemed like you just wanted to go in there, like, I show my face.
Bowling?
No, it was at a hotel. Like all the fighters were there. It was like all the YouTube people were there.
Yes, I remember
That
that.
was it.
You're right. Oh, and they had the punch thing.
Yes.
Dude, I suck at that.
Yeah, that was it.
I remember.
That was
Okay,
it.
okay,
So that was
okay.
the event, and that was like the pre-fight party or
Yeah.
whatever that started at 7, went to 10, and I think you came around 8:30, give or take. And I'm pretty sure you only stayed there for 30 minutes or something like that and left. And when you left, you were trying to gather a crowd together to go and do something else.
Interesting.
And I couldn't go to that because I had to go to bed early and I had the fight.
You had
the
a
next
fight the
morning.
next day.
Yeah, so I couldn't partake in any of that. So I would have loved to have seen, but I got it. I was a little disappointed that you left after 30 minutes. But whatever. The next day, you didn't show up to the fight, and that for me was the big one. And I think had I just gotten a text,
Yeah.
just anything afterwards, like, hey, couldn't make it, or hey, something came up, I'm unable to make it, or even something like the next morning, like, hey, how'd it go, blah, blah, just something.
Yep.
And I didn't get a text. And that for me was a bit like the camel that broke the straw's back. Because there have been a few other things prior to that just weren't big things, but little tiny, I would call jabs that I felt like you would sometimes make throughout your videos. Because I'd watch every single video that you'd post. Okay. And sometimes I'd hear a comment from you, and I'm like, it feels directed towards me. So I felt like this had been building up, but then not getting just a text afterwards was really hurtful for me.
Yeah.
And the night before, as far as I'm aware, you were with someone else getting steak.
Steak.
A steak.
Okay.
Yeah. And so for me, it felt like you just kind of ditched my fight to go and hang out with someone
I'm
else.
trying to remember that. Okay. All right. So, wow. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing all that. I had no idea. Now, I obviously, I knew that I effed up. I'd never heard your side, so I think it's so wonderful that you put it out there. Thank you for that. There's a lot to unpackage there, and I think it's just best to be transparent about it all. So, wow. I think the way to start is I fucked up, and I'm really sorry for that. It's totally my fault. I remember, in fact, you offered to get me free tickets to the event, and I actually didn't take you up on those tickets.
I know.
Because I bought VIP tickets, and they were like
Expensive.
They were expensive.
They were a few $1,000s.
They were a few $1,000s. So I let me address the easier one first, which is the commentary on YouTube. I think probably YouTube is such a competitive space and finance is so small, and everybody hits the same topics often that it's possible, but I don't think that's probably. I don't think in myself that there was really anything that was designed to be like, oh, let's target Graham here. It's possible. I can't remember, but that's certainly not an intention. What I think is more important, though, is what happened at the fight. So in 2022, I don't know what it was. It was coming off of like the COVID era, the 2020, 21, like everyone's locked down. And I had this like feeling of, oh, I need to go like clubbing and going out partying or whatever. It was really stupid, because I have 2 kids, dad. And so because I met Lauren when I was 16 and we really never kind of like went partying or had fun or whatever, I think I was in this mindset of like, oh, I got to go to Florida and got to go party. And that was really stupid because it also got me in trouble. But in my opinion, I look back at that moment and I'm like, that was a life-changing moment for me because it sort of it put this separator between you need to go out there and like have fun with the guys. Like you had mentioned, like, oh yeah, Kevin's going to go with the guys. This is true. You're absolutely right about what you said because that was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm excited for the fight tomorrow, but we also want to go have fun, right? Go downtown or wherever. I think this was it Tampa or St. Pete or something like that?
Tampa.
Okay, yeah. But there are plenty of places over there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that became sort of this point in my life where I had to realize, wait a minute, like I'm a dad. I can't be a dumbass. I can't think that like, oh, I need to go out there and like live that 20s lifestyle that you never had. Because A, I have a family to be responsible for. B, I have to be responsible for everyone else in the community. And C, I also have to preserve and promote the relationships that I have, which in doing that, I screwed up your relationship. Because now what happened was, I go, oh my gosh, I've got, first of all, you're right. The night before I had steak with Ben Mala because we were doing some real estate videos or whatever, and we had a collab planned. But the collab was planned for the morning that I was no longer available to do the collab. So it was do the collab later and be stuck in Clearwater, far away from the fight, or lose the opportunity to do the collab at all. So you're 100% right. I should have communicated. But look, long and short of it, I screwed up. And so what you've described about YouTube, I want to like look back at that because I think it's worth addressing that. But that the timing of how that all played out was horrible and miserable. And it was a game changer in my life because now I feel like I don't do anything that's knuckleheadish anymore. Now I'm just like, well, first of all, when Summer almost died, that was sort of another realization of like, oh my gosh, like look how fragile life is, right? And so the last 2 years, 22 to 24, has been so transformative because that moment, going from like the COVID highs on YouTube to then the FTX, nonsense, which is frustrating. Then that moment, like you're kind of going from like this high and like, oh, there's this unstoppability to no, you're human. You can make mistakes. You shouldn't be a dumbass. You should focus on people and relationships and not on like trying to have a good time. Mm-hmm. So today I really feel like a different person than I was back then, but I definitely screwed up. Like even if I, right when I got out, I sent you a text like, "Here's the predicament I'm in." That's right.
All I needed, and I knew that you didn't go in favor of doing a collab or doing business, and I felt like you put the YouTube channel and doing a collab over our friendship, and then it made me question our friendship and me thinking, are we actually friends, or do you only hang out because you feel like you could benefit in some way.
Yeah,
Whether
I
that
don't
be
think it's
information,
that.
because every time we get together, we talk business in
Yeah.
YouTube every single time. And I love talking about that. That's what I would talk about regardless. But then I question, is he actually hanging out with me because
Yeah.
of that? Or is it because I have something to offer? And then I went back to other times where I felt like you've put connections above what I thought was our friendship. And there's been a few times in the past where you've canceled something that we've had planned, and then you do something else instead with someone who maybe might have a little more status or maybe a little more clout or something like that.
I don't know. I'd have to think, look at those individual scenarios. But I don't think that was the case at all. I look at going to North Carolina with you or going to DC with you. I mean, there are so many videos and times we've been together where
agree.
we barely made any content. In fact, I almost go out of my way not to try to post when I'm with you. Like, it's like, you know, if I go to an event of yours or whatever, I'm almost trying not to post on social to make it seem like, oh, I'm trying to like leverage your audience or whatever. That has never been my goal. And it's especially not my goal.
Well, I would say
now.
it's less of like the YouTube content, more so the information of like, hey man, here's what I've noticed. It's like working really well, or here's what I'm doing, and then.
But everybody
that
does
sort of
that.
stuff.
Everybody shares, right? I mean, I do the same thing too with you guys. I think it's like, hey, here's what I'm finding works, and you know, whether it's in the studio or content or you know, partnerships or whatever. I think everybody's kind of been somewhat of a partner in that.
But you know what? While we're on this topic of partners, let's do some quick math here, because the less money your business spends, the more money you get to keep. And even though this might seem obvious, with the rising cost of materials, employees, distribution, and borrowing, everything costs more. So to reduce these costs and headaches, smart businesses are upgrading to our sponsor, NetSuite by Oracle.
NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform and one source of truth. With NetSuite, you reduce IT costs because it lives in the cloud with no hardware required, and you can access it from anywhere. You basically cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because with NetSuite, you have one unified business management suite.
Essentially, you could improve efficiency by bringing all of your major business processes into one platform, thereby reducing manual tasks and errors. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move, so do the math and see how much you'll profit with NetSuite.
But wait, there's more. Due to popular demand, NetSuite has decided to extend its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for just a few more weeks. All you gotta do is head over to netsuite.com/iced. Once again, guys, that is netsuite.com/ICED, netsuite.com/iced. Thank you so much, NetSuite, for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.
I think there are a lot of maybes that then looked like, oh, that's for sure, you know, the impression
Well,
was
I'll
confirmed
give you
because of that
one
night.
example without going into the weeds too much, because
Okay.
I mean, I think it just clouds things.
Yeah.
But like, there was a night you told me you had a date night with Lauren,
Okay.
and we couldn't do what we had planned together. And then I saw you on a live stream with Ross Gerber that night.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember this. Yeah, that sucks.
So,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
you know, that's just an example that popped
No,
into my
of
mind. So
course.
it's like when I start stacking that up, then I'm thinking, well,
That's interesting.
you know, and if I just got something like, hey, this event came up, or this came up with Ross, it's like
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
a
yeah.
dumbass to turn it down.
Yeah.
I got to do it.
Of
Like then I
course.
get it. Like
Yeah.
I understand that sort of stuff, but it just felt like then it became a game of like, this person offers more to me in this moment, so like I'm gonna go with this.
Yeah.
If you just tell me, it's like,
No.
then I get it, and it's
I don't
not
know.
a big
I
deal.
wish I had more of a memory of this, because I think what you're describing is 100% reasonable and fair. Because if those are exactly the things that happen, that looks like I'm a scumbag and an asshole, and I deserve you putting me on the spot with that information. So the only thing I can say is that's not me anymore. That's not to say that we have to like go collab and do things together or whatever. It's not that at all. It's I've understood that, hey, I messed up and I'm willing to take responsibility for that. And yeah, that's probably where I would leave it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
I think for me, getting married, it's really just about letting the bygones be bygones and move past it. And I
Thanks for
felt,
that.
I want to say I held a bit of a grudge, or just a bit of upsetness, or something on my shoulders that I just didn't feel good about. And just moving on from that, I think has given me a lot of peace.
I think it's really important, and it's hard because in social media, I think we have so much pressure from, okay, here are our jobs, and we're technically collaborators, but also competitors in a space. And I think you're right. Things can come across a certain way, whether they're intended that way or not. I think it's almost like we have to go a step beyond to make sure that, how should I phrase it? Like, it's almost like going forward, you have to be so careful not to even imply that there's any kind of animosity, at least from my POV, right? So like now, I started on YouTube making exposed videos, you know, it's like Grant Cardone exposed. It's like we made the Grant Cardone masks and like he put like a bag over my head or whatever, like all the crazy old videos, right? I came from that environment of I gotta expose, I gotta find like the faults in people. And it was always like, whether it was Grant Cardone or other older popular finance figures, that was never that with you. I can't defend myself over the fight night. Okay?
Yeah,
that
sure.
100% I know I effed up. I don't like the Ross one really bothers me because I don't know. I don't remember that. I don't think that would happen because it's also like, I obviously know you're going to be able to see the live stream, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's just all of those things in the past had kind of like stacked.
Of course.
And then the fight night was really the event,
The catalyst.
just the thing that kind of broke it.
But I think you're right. I think that if that and the fight night, you're right. But I mean, look, the only thing I can do now is look and say, I'm sorry. That's it.
Apology accepted.
What makes me sad is I worry that you think that, and you probably do, and when I understand it the way you've described it here, is that you think that my character is one of, hey, I'm gonna like spatula you over to take a better opportunity or whatever, and that makes me sad, and I'm regretful for that. I wish I could argue everything with all the details, but I can't. All I could do is say sorry.
Apology accepted.
So I will say from a third party that people would argue I am partial. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. Over the course of like living with Graham and then, you know, maybe a year or so, however long I lived at that other place while you guys were still talking a lot, what I would observe is it seemed as though in private, you and Graham had a decent relationship, but then publicly, the main thing that I guess was a little off-putting to me was it's like you would, because you make so much content, and a lot of the times, even if it was just like a 10-second slight or a 15-second slight, that wasn't directly, like you wouldn't say his name, but it'd be like, I could just be sitting here and tell you to buy index funds and cash in a check and then do this.
Oh, but I
I'm
joke
not
about
gonna-
that all the time, in fairness. That's like, that is definitely not a you thing. I will say that right now. Like, that's,
Right.
So my personality is aggressive. It's like a little bit like Ben Mala-esque, right? Where I'm just gonna like, I say shit all the time and I make so much freaking content. You know what? Maybe what you're saying is exactly right. And I don't even remember because it's like
At
every
the time,
day.
you were posting like 6 videos a day.
I
so,
carry
you know, I don't blame you for not remembering.
But that is
20
my
seconds.
personality.
Yeah.
So and what's I wish I had known at the time, like while that was happening. Hey, Kevin, you know, is this directed at me or whatever, right? Because then I could have probably been more aware and like, oh, that's not what it's supposed to, or whatever, right? Because I think I'm not afraid to like call people out online. Now, I've stepped back a lot from that. One of the reasons I stepped back so heavily was because of 22 and what happened with Summer, my baby girl. But that doesn't mean I'm still not the personality type that I am, which is when people first meet me, they want to punch me in the face. I'm annoying, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious. Then it's not until they sort of get to know me, they're like, okay, wait a minute, Kevin's kind of like a fun guy. We can have fun, we can learn, we can prosper together or whatever. At least I hope people think that, knock on wood. But yeah, I definitely am a lot more loud and obnoxious and very likely to offend. So I think what's happened is you've described very much a relationship where over time you've been offended by my rancor, so to speak, my craziness. And it's likely, you're likely right. You know, like, hey, yeah, I'm just blasting everything that's different. And in doing so, I ruined our relationship, and I apologize for that. And there's nothing I can do or say to say that what you felt then is wrong. What you felt then is probably 100% right. I wish at the time I knew about it, but honestly, my again, the personality of what I am is I'm just always screaming, always yelling about, stocks or Biden. Like the second after Biden had his debate, I'm like, man, I'm supposed to be Mr. Neutral. Oh, well, I'm live and there are 70,000 people. Biden needs to step down. This guy is bad for America. And I'm like, dude, I might get majorly canceled for doing this because I'm always like Mr. Neutral. And now here I am, like on the spot, impulsively like, no, this is bullshit. This guy needs to step down. He's demented, senile old man.
Talking about me again?
That was good. That was good. You are older than me.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I do think like I get in way too many fights, I cause more problems than I probably should in my life. A lot of people are going to hate me for that. I don't care. Every day I try to do my best. I try to provide value. I try to provide insights. And I put my neck out there. I don't just tell people to buy index.
It's good. Funny.
No.
Yeah.
But that's me. Okay. So like, look, I am so sorry, but I'm so grateful that you're bringing this to me because I don't realize the people that I offend because I don't take the time to think about it because I'm like, oh, next video.
Yeah. I could have done a better job too, bringing this up a lot earlier. A lot of the time, I just let it slide, and I think, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, is it worth the effort? No.
Lauren does the same thing.
Yeah.
So like, maybe I'm like saying something that's bugging her and she'll hold on to it for like a week, and then all of a sudden, like I'll say one thing, and then she just explodes, and we'll have a fight, and I'm like, how did that one thing cause that explosion? And it's not until we talk about it, which obviously as husband and wife, we talk more than we talked, right? Then I'll be like, oh, it was building. She has this analogy of the cup. So she'll say, like, it wasn't that one thing was like dumped a bucket on this cup and pissed me off and then we had a fight. It was that you did this and then this and then this and then this and this, and then all of a sudden it finally spilled over. And I think that spillover moment was that fight.
Yeah.
The fight night. But there were more cup fills over time, and we had never emptied that cup.
Correct.
We never had this heart-to-heart discussion of like, oh shit, I'm pissing you off, or like, or vice versa. I don't know. It would probably mean more than you. Oh my god, sorry,
save.
that was close.
There we go.
See, it spilled over. This is just it's. Yeah, and I know that I found that about myself. I'm not a perfect person. I definitely screw up a lot, and so this is really insightful. It's a little embarrassing on camera, but I think it's good. I've never gone to a therapist, and this feels like therapy.
Never once?
Never once.
Have you ever considered it?
No, but that's probably why I'm broken because nobody checks what goes on up there.
Well, it's good to discuss this, and I'm happy for my buddy Graham, and I'm happy for you too to hopefully be able to sort all of this.
The reality is, I'm okay people knowing that I screw up. I'm okay with that because I'm not perfect. I constantly am trying to. I make mistakes. I get set back, and the goal is can we build from here? Can we learn from there and build from here?
Yeah.
And this is a learning experience. Like, so I'm 32. This is all so valuable. Like, I still want to make YouTube videos in 10 years. In 10 years, nobody's going to remember, Kevin had a therapy session with Graham and
Right,
Jack, right?
Yeah.
But it will change me because it has an impact.
And I should have done better to bring this up way earlier.
It's all right.
And I didn't do that.
No,
so I take responsibility for
Thank
that
you.
too.
I appreciate it.
So.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so
Podcast.
No, the podcast.
thank you guys so much for watching.
Until next time.
We got him, boys.
Back it up.
So,
Yeah.
Kevin, why is it, do you think, that finance content
Yeah.
is looked on so negatively now?
Well, I mean, because stocks went down.
But they're at all-time highs now.
Well, but they went down, right? So yes, stocks are at all-time highs now. I call it the Nike swoosh recovery. But it's tough because, people don't remember, like, for example, people leave comments, they're like, but what about Peloton, Kevin? And I bought Peloton at like 80 and like 40 and like 50 and 100 and 120, and I sold it all at 113. But people didn't necessarily see the video of, oh, I'm selling. And so then other people kept holding on to Peloton forever. And now they look and it's like, well, that's $4 now or whatever. And so then I'm the face of that because I made that initial video talking about Peloton. I had no idea they were going to go to $4. I just know I sold at 113.
That's what makes it so difficult, is because you could make a video and say, hey, this is what I did with my money. Here's where it is. And no one watches that follow-up.
No.
They'll see the one video. They just want to see what you're buying. They don't really care so much what you're selling.
Exactly.
And even if the selling video gets more views, that initial audience is very unlikely to
Be the
mix
same.
between the two.
So what I did in 2022, which I see 2022 and mostly 2, as like really like hardcore like bottoms for me, right? Like the stock market's at the bottom. I don't have, my startups going. I don't really have any. It's like, oh man, this sucks, right? Like this is like from high to low. This is terrible. So what I decided to do is I said, okay, I'm going to launch an ETF. So I launched an ETF that's publicly traded. So now people can always look and go, what's the performance? Because my thought was, I never want to be in that place again where somebody's like, oh, well, you said this, that, or whatever. It's like, go look. It's 100% public. So there's a 100% public, transparent ETF, and that's what I just put my personal money into. When I want to buy personal stocks, that's what I'm doing. That doesn't mean I'm not going to trade, but trading is, I have a trading account where I just mess around with options because it's fun. But that's like, you're bored in the office and you want a dopamine hit. You want to, right? Like that's not a long-term
The one
investment
issue I
strategy.
will say with that, because I've been so careful never to talk about like individual stocks to that degree, is that when people see you buying in your, I believe it's a Webull account, right? Is that and they see like $2 million in the account, and they see you buying like $100,000 into a stock. For some people, that is like their entire net worth. And they see you putting $100,000 and they don't see it in context where that $100,000 for you, if it goes to zero,
It doesn't matter.
it's like someone putting $1,000 in a stock and just like, oh, I'll just see what happens. I know. So I think people sometimes see those numbers and they see, wow, he just made $50,000 on this play of whatever it is, a call option on, let's say Tesla. He put $100,000 in that and made 50 really quickly. And I think people see that and it screws in their mind and thinking, oh man, if you put 100 in, I'm going to put half of my net worth in this. And it screws the perception.
It does.
It's different
It
for,
is. So what I'm trying to do with my trading is I'm trying to find a strategy that in the long term, because day trading isn't sustainable for what the long-term goal is. The long-term goal is to try to create like a Bill Ackman style hedge fund. And all of what I'm doing, the whole purpose of my trading account is to be like my battleground for testing different strategies. And then I want to be able to prove that. And then hopefully, mostly probably through swing trading, hopefully create a hedge fund that's profitable. That's sort of like another in the future plan. But you're right. People can take a perception that, oh, I should be doing this or whatever. That's why I think it's important that people, first of all, look at their portfolio and go, okay, I'm only going to trade what I'm willing to lose. It should be a small percentage of your overall net worth. And a lot of people would probably benefit a lot from having a financial advisor in their life. I am a financial advisor, but I don't do financial advice. So I don't have any clients. Don't call me. I'm not going to give you financial advice. You call somebody else. But I don't think trading is for everybody. I don't think swing trading is for everybody. I don't think hedge funds are for everybody. But for me, I'm always looking at where do I want to be in 10 years? And so my goal in 10 years is publicly traded ETF, my broker-dealer that we're launching at the end of the year, my real estate startup, house hack, and then in the longer term, a hedge fund that can trade around some of the other things that we're doing. So those are my long-run visions, while also providing content on YouTube. And so everything that I do is focused towards those missions. And it's really tough because you get a lot of hate online when you go from like a high to a low. But these companies that we're building, I hope, otherwise I would just retire. But my hope is that they're call options like on multi-billion-dollar businesses in the future. I think we can, be 10 times the size of Open Door. They're a $1.5 billion company. If those knuckleheads can do it, I think I can do it. That's just with the real estate company. I think we could do the same thing with our broker-dealer and compete with companies like with Robinhood with new products. So those are my long-run goals. And so I've come to this point where I'm in, 22, 23, and we're really just in that launching phase of all of these companies. And you're right. People look in from the outside. They're like, you're crazy. Why would you buy a plane? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's all for one mission. They all align. The broker-dealer helps HouseHack. The hedge fund actually helps HouseHack. All of it is like one laser.
What's the end goal?
Well, there really isn't like a goalpost. What I found that is the only thing that works for me is both success and failure. So I have to go through that roller coaster all the time. And it's really bad. It's probably like a drug addiction. I don't take any drugs. But it's probably very bad and very stressful. Probably have a lot of gray hair soon. But for me, it's not about a number. It's not like, oh, if I hit 200 million or 300 million, that's it. I want to retire there. It's about I could build a company where, imagine this, and this is already to some extent happening. HouseHack's a $100 million company. Okay, so somebody who starts working for me, work at $15 an hour editing TikToks, now makes over $200,000 a year. Okay, that person, if they get 1% equity, let's say, they're a millionaire. That's like life-changing to me, to be able to give that to other people or to enable that opportunity. That doesn't mean I'm like giving it to them. They earned it, right?
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that. But I think that if it weren't for me trying and failing and creating the opportunities, it wouldn't be possible. So then it always hurts me, like for example, right now we're open to hiring another intern or even a bar licensed attorney, somebody who's newer, somebody who can train, whatever, jobs at MeetKevin.com. But the goal is, or I should say, what hurts me is when people will write comments like, "Oh my gosh, how could you pay an intern $16 an hour minimum wage? Why don't you pay them what they're worth or whatever?" It's like, we train you, and then you get, you might get underpaid at first, but then you get overpaid is the goal in the long run. And so I always those comments and the hate on social media, just like they're like stabs in the gut every day, and it's really hard. And the only way I can get through the intensity of social media is by knowing that we're actually building things that we think are really, really valuable.
I tend to think it's a bit of the economy right now is in such a K-shaped recovery where some people are doing really well and other people are not.
That's a good point.
And
I hadn't thought about that.
That there's a lot of resentment that's built up because of just inflation and stocks are at all-time highs. And for the people that aren't already invested in it, I mean, think about it. Yeah, if you haven't bought a house already,
you're screwed.
If you haven't already bought stocks and you have to pay groceries that are insanely more expensive, I mean, it makes sense that there would be a lot of people that are upset.
100%. I think it's almost impossible for somebody who doesn't already own real estate to buy real estate. And then what happens is if you have to make a substantially larger income to actually be able to qualify. And if you can get on the ride, great. But I think in 10 years, we're a renter nation, because I think what will actually happen is I think interest rates will go from 7% mortgages to under 2%. People think I'm crazy for saying that, but I believe it. So everything I'm building is with this expectation that rates are actually probably going to go under.
But what if
2%.
What if they don't?
That's okay. So we'll still be owners, right? So things can remain stable. We're buying, with HouseHack, we're buying real estate cash, so it doesn't matter. We could still make money by buying good deals, fixer-uppers, fixing them up, whatever. But if rates do go that low, it's just a tailwind. But it's a tailwind to us, not to people who want to buy. Because people think, oh, okay, well, great, if rates are at 2%, I can afford to buy. Well, then the house will be twice as expensive. So we'll probably go into a renter nation. So today, the vast majority of homes are bought by homeowners. You know this. You've done videos on this. You do great videos on this. 80% of homes are bought by. I think you actually did a counter video to the whole institutions are buying all the real estate.
I did. Yeah, the Fox News canceled me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was. Look, it's like 80% of home buyers are mom and pop, and then it's like the next 10% is also mom and pop real estate investors that own 2 to 9 units.
Yeah, such a small percentage
that buy thousands, right? But I think in the future it'll flip. It'll be mostly real estate. It'll just be owned by corporations.
Some of you guys may know I've been navigating the dating scene for quite some time now, and while I do enjoy the traditional dating apps, I realized for me to get what I'm actually looking for, I needed to look somewhere else. I wanted something different, something that fits with my busy lifestyle, a platform that actually has the person that I'm looking for. And if you feel the same, I strongly recommend you guys try out our sponsor, The League. The League is a dating app made specifically for people like us that are very career focused, ambitious, and short on time. And what I think is really cool is that they vet everyone who joins, so there are no fake accounts and people can't lie about what they've done and what they want. So yes, there's a wait list, but that just means everyone is very serious and LinkedIn verified. And if you stay to the very end, I will teach you how to jump to the front of the wait list. So the way it works is the League sends me a curated batch of matches every single day. It's super efficient, and on Sundays, they have these 3-minute mini dates where you can quickly see if there's a connection. So I did some of these 3-minute mini dates and I absolutely loved it, because to tell you the truth, my strategy on the other apps was get them off of the app so then I can get their phone number and then FaceTime them to see if there's any chemistry, because you don't want to meet up in person and realize within 30 seconds you're not going to enjoy the next 2 hours of the date. And what I find really impressive is just the community. It's a 50-50 ratio of women to men, which is absolutely unheard of in dating apps. You'll find doctors, lawyers, creatives, people who are just really driven and want the same things that you want. Honestly, I'm just excited to keep diving into the League. Their match rate is higher, and on top of that, they have people that are looking for serious and meaningful connections. So if you're ready to upgrade your dating life, give the League a try. Download it on iOS or Android, and if you want to jump to the front of the waiting list, just message #ICH to your in-app concierge. Thanks so much to the League for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.
What's your logic behind interest rates getting so low?
40 years of deflation will continue. The only reason we had inflation at all over the last 40 years is because we print money. It's one of the reasons I think crypto won't make it as like a government asset.
Why do you think we're going to flip and deflation is going to start happening?
Deflation's already been happening for the last 40 years. The only reason we don't see it is because they print more than the deflation we have. So if we have 4% deflation every year in the 90s, let's say, or the 2000s, we're printing, say, 8%, and now it looks like we have 4% inflation, right? That won't stop.
Now, this is a beginner question,
Yeah.
because I'm somewhat of a beginner, but how have prices continued rising if we were a deflationary currency before we started printing money and causing a net inflation?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, you're asking why are things still getting more expensive right now?
Yes.
I mean, they're really not. If you look at TVs, for example, when I bought my first TV, it was a 40-inch TV for $2,000. Now I can get that for $199.
TVs, that's like the one example.
No, but it's anything. It's phones, it's computers.
I think groceries would be one. Like the cost of food is going up, the cost of utilities are going up.
It did go up. It's now going down.
But it already went up like 30%. So it went down a few percent.
No. But what you're referring to is the inflation of COVID, right? We have a crisis. Oh my gosh, we want to avoid a recession, so we're going to print $9 trillion or whatever. Which they don't actually print it; it's just digital printing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's stupid. Like the amount of money that was printed was absolutely obscenely stupid. The government made a massive mistake, and so did the Federal Reserve. But I'm ignoring the period of COVID, and what I'm doing is I'm going back 40 years and saying innovation is deflation. Yeah, what we can do with artificial intelligence will remove jobs from the workforces, which will reduce the need for having as many workers, which will put downward pressure on wages. It's actually very bad for people who want to work. Downward pressure on everything from cameras to phones, computers to cars. You look at now you can buy a Model Y Tesla for $39,000. They just had that 1.99% offer.
Yeah.
And okay, call it $47,000 or whatever with taxes and after the credit, but you throw full self-driving on. So you now have a $47,000 car that essentially completely drives itself. That's insane. If somebody came to me 20 years ago, assuming I had the money and I wasn't 20 years ago, and said, oh, you can have a self-driving car, it'll cost you $500,000, it probably would have been a good deal. Now you can get this full self-driving car for $47,000. It's accessible, and it's going to get even cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
That makes sense. So when I think of it in terms of access to more basic technology, like a toaster was like a luxury, God knows how long ago, 100 years ago. Yeah. People didn't have TVs. We have access to all of these things. And what is that? Just because the costs have gone down relative to the wage?
Oh, of course. You can get a toaster now for probably $9.99 on Amazon or on Temu. Jeez Lord, I see a lot of people are so worried about deglobalization. Oh, everybody's going to manufacture in their own countries now because of COVID and the supply chain problems and stuff. It's bullshit. It's going to get so cheap to manufacture stuff in China. Prices are going to plummet so rapidly. I'm convinced of it. Now, a lot of people won't be now because that's an unpopular thing to say. And that's what my channel is all about. Is like I'm like the king of unpopular things to say and pissing people off. I'm sorry. I'm still sorry.
No, that's fine.
I realize that's very unpopular because the pain is true. Prices are 30% higher than they were pre-COVID right now. Groceries are more expensive. Going on a vacation, a trip, a hotel, everything is more expensive. I used to say put aside $200 a month for a house for repairs. Honestly, it should be $300 now because everything has gotten more expensive. This is true, but the trajectory is down.
That's interesting. When you scope out.
When you zoom out.
Yeah.
But long term.
I don't know.
10 plus
a lot of
years,
people
yeah.
say they have to inflate for the national debt. They just got to keep lowering interest rates,
Yeah.
printing more money. They don't have any other option other than to keep
So-
printing money to keep the economy at the top.
Our deficit will destroy the economy the day we stop innovating. As long as we continue to innovate, the debt doesn't matter at all. It matters zero because our $24 trillion economy, after when AI actually like gets its groove in and actually creates money, give it 10 years, right? Our $24 trillion economy will be laughable because we'll be at a $100 trillion economy. And then we'll look back and we'll go, oh, but we've got 25 trillion debt. So now we have a quarter.
And then
debt
what
to
if
GDP.
what if the population declines?
So it's a richer population. So it's unfortunate to say that because there is population decline. But see, people say that about California. Like, okay, well, what if the population declines in California? That's fine. What happens in California is, and this is just the reality of macro. This is not to try to be like PC or sensitive. This is why people get mad at me. Whatever. I'm so over it, dude. I've chilled out so much after summer. Like almost losing a child has just turned me into like.
You
I just
seem
don't
like a
care
different
anymore.
person because I watched all 3 of our podcasts to like bring me up to date.
Oh, wow.
Actually, 4 podcasts I watch.
Wow.
You seem like a different person today.
I've kind of
You're
lost.
way
like,
more mellow.
Oh, I've mellowed a lot. I still like yell at people in the comments.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think the fear of failure is like totally gone. And to some extent, it's kind of like, it almost feels like it put like a candle out inside of me. I still have a fire in there, but like some candles have been put out. And now it's just about like, I wanted to try to just provide information that I think is just going to be the best for people. And if I can see people succeed, it makes me happy. And that it was 22 and these babies, those changed me. But anyway, so as far as we were on the topic of population
California.
decline, California.
You said people are gonna hate me for it.
Yeah, poor people are going to get squeezed out. See, people are going to go where the jobs are, which is going to be San Diego, Los Angeles, to some extent, like your Austin, Texas, or whatever. People aren't going to go to rural Nampa, Idaho. I was just there, actually. People aren't going to go to Nampa, Idaho because they want to build wealth. They're going to go there to escape how expensive things have gotten. That's called the concentration of poverty. So people move from high cost of living areas to poor cost of living areas. And what happens is they get stuck in a rat trap. So now you're there. You can never leave. So the worst thing to do in someone's life is to move to a low cost of living area. If somebody wanted to get out of a low cost of living lifestyle, they have to move to a high cost of living area. That means they have to sleep on a bed. They have to rent a room. Favorite example, the electrician. The electrician in Chillicothe, Ohio, he's going to charge me $15 per outlet, and if he charges any more than that, he's going to get shot. The market won't pay any more. It won't pay any more for that. You go to San Francisco to change an outlet, people will pay $120 an outlet for the same work. But it's because people have the money there and they don't have the time to do that. So you can provide more services and make more money there. Point is, population decline, to some extent, works in capitalism when, unfortunately, poor people leave and the GDP of the area actually, ironically, goes up because the median income is going up. So you're actually creating a more prosperous area with fewer people because everybody else is leaving. That's sad.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's utilitarian, right? Like in a utopia, everybody should be able to live in coastline SoCal real estate with the best weather in the world and have enough food to eat and not have to struggle to pay the bills. But I grew up in that household of struggling to pay the bills, of our car getting repossessed. I grew up at the bottom. And I started at the bottom, saw my dad make money, then lose it all to basically bankruptcy and foreclosure, and then it was on me. So, and I never, like, I'm so, like, afraid of that hole that I feel like that's why I have to keep building. But I've also resigned to, like, if I fail, I fail.
Yeah. It seems like that's off topic. That would be something to go to therapy over.
You're probably right.
It's just that mindset of being down at nothing, because I have the exact same thing.
Tell me about it. What do you mean?
I'm constantly paranoid. I'm going to have to start over with zero.
Yeah.
Like, that's always what's going on.
But
and
see,
even with Jack, I'm like, but Jack, you don't understand, because if you have like this, like, I've mapped out everything in my mind where, like, the worst case scenarios could happen. The market drops by like 80%, never recovers. I have multiple children. A few of them have health conditions. They need, like, care. This happens. This, like, everything has to happen at once. Oh, and then also like an 8.0 earthquake in California wipes out the rental properties there. Demand completely evaporates. Like, everything has to happen at once for this. But I'm like, there's a chance. And if I could prevent that chance, or provide some sort of, assurance for that, then I'm good.
Yeah,
but no matter how much I have, I'm always going to think, let's plan for the worst.
Yeah, there's always that fear of loss, and that's always what's inspired me to like keep building and working. That fear of that, but then what's weird over the last couple of years, I've almost become more like just also resigned to, like, whatever's meant to be is meant to be. So I'm just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and if it's meant to be, it'll happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really weird because it's one of the reasons also I bought the plane. I'm like, I can't do these businesses and have a family without being able to fly. So just the other, I got to post a video on this, but I tried JSX just for lulz. I tried them.
I love JSX.
See, I hated it.
Why?
I was so bitter and frustrated the whole time because my flight, first of all, I had to wait for, like, my event was over at 6 and no, it was over at 5:30. If I had, I know this is unrelatable, but if I had gone from the event to my plane, we would have been in the air at 6:15. I would have landed around 7:05. I would have been home before 7:30. All the kids still awake. Instead, I'm like, I want to try JSX just to see what it's like. First of all, the ticket was like twice the cost of a Southwest ticket for a similar takeoff. I'm like, okay, so this is going to be like a better experience or whatever. So it's an 8 o'clock, so I have to wait, 2 hours. Okay, whatever, that's fine. So I wait 2 hours. The little area that you wait in, they have a coffee machine, but like nothing else. You go to an airport. If I'm flying solo, I can get through TSA fast. You get TSA pre-check, it's fast, it's pretty easy, right? You got a backpack, you fly through, you're in the terminal pretty fast. So now I'm in a terminal where they have like restaurants, magazine stands, snacks, and bars.
All of that's awful to me. I don't know.
See, I enjoy that. Like I get to.
It's just they overcharge, because I look at the Starbucks there and I'm like, it's $8 for a coffee.
Yeah, but you just pay twice
Subway.
as much for a ticket at JSX.
No, it depends. If JSX is often the same price as Southwest.
Oh,
if
I
you're
haven't found that.
if you're flexible on times.
Oh, I see.
Like for me,
Okay.
I'll plan my trips around where I could get the least expensive ticket.
I see.
So
Okay.
I'll leave
That's
on
fair.
this day at this time because the ticket will save me a few $100.
Right. Fair.
That's what I
So
do.
for my example, at least in my scenario, it was twice as expensive. But I thought, okay, it should be a more exclusive experience. Then it's late, like an hour. And so I'm sitting there and it's delay. I'm like, this sucks. We finally get out. I don't get to my airport. I get to Burbank, which is now an hour Uber away. So I get in a random Uber. No, it was a Lyft. And the guy's like, how much you paying for this? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, it says like $120 or whatever for the Uber. And he's like, cancel it. Pay me directly. And I'm like, okay, if I don't do this guy's going to kill me. And so I'm like, okay, no problem. So I Venmo him. And I'm like, man, I wish I had a gun. So I feel like so scared. And so I Venmo him directly. And he's like, good. Now we get gas. And he takes me to like some janky gas station. It fills up. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the end of me. So like I had a really bad experience. Maybe that's not fair for JSX. Probably not usual. But my point is, like, if I'm going to fly commercial, I don't know for me that JSX was worth the extra because it's the same airport. It's almost the same experience, except I'm getting less, where I'd have more choices in a regular sort of airport and terminal situation and maybe less shady Uber drivers afterwards because it's not at a shady terminal I'm leaving out of. Obviously, it's easy to say, oh, I'll just have your own plane. But like, I just never want to fly again without my own plane. Like, I would rather just not fly.
It's funny. We talked to Papa John, and we asked him if he would ever give up his jet, and he said he would give up everything else in his life except for his plane.
Exactly. It's so, I mean, think about this. You know, I leave my house. It's like a 20-minute drive to the airport. It's a 45-minute flight here. And that's 20 minutes from the airport to here. So my door-to-door is nominal. Now, sometimes you go into certain airports, they can delay you. That's okay. That's going to happen no matter what anyway. You know, they call it flow or whatever in aviation. But I get there, and it's like, I don't have to wait in line for a rental car. Somebody walks up with a big smile on the clipboard. Here's your car key, sir. Sign here. Boom. You're like, the experience is it makes travel fun. And so I don't mind traveling at all. And the only way I would choose not to be retired and to actually like do my real estate business where we're flying around for real estate, the only way I would do it is with that plane, because otherwise I would never see my family. There's no way I could fly here at 2 o'clock and fly back at 7 or 8 and do that same day on my schedule and still have time for my family or Lauren beginning of the day to work or whatever. There's no way I could do that without a plane. I can't go to smaller airports. I can't, have cars ready for me so we can do our work or whatever, and then take the passengers that I need to without it.
What do you think is something that people don't recognize about you that's positive that you wish they would?
I care a lot about people, and so it really hurts me when other people feel that I've offended them. Much like your situation, I feel the same way about Lauren. I feel the same way about kids. I think kids are something that they're so important, they're so precious, and I try so hard to make sure they all love me. I'll take them on individual trips, but there's one of our daughters, her name's Claire. She always has an angry face. She's always got the sus face. And I'm like, she does it to everybody, but it still hurts me because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if she doesn't like me? And I don't know that comes through in my content because I'm just loud and obnoxious, and it seems like, oh, there's Mr. Unrelatable, there's Mr. Jet, he's jetting around, he's trading all these call options, he's doing this or whatever, he's all over the place. It's all laser focused on what can we do to help people, and I don't know how else to convey it other than say that, but I don't think that comes through. Probably because my personality is just way too annoying for that.
And what do you think is a fair criticism of yourself?
Well, probably that exact problem that I'm kind of like the little like flame in like Mario, where I'm just like running around and stuff's just kind of getting burned and like damage is getting caused and stuff. And it's like, no, trust the process, man. You getting burned is part of the greater good. It's like, no, Kevin, it doesn't work that way.
Do you think you could beat the market?
Well, I think in the long term, a portfolio of maybe 20 to 30 stocks can outperform the market if they are chosen well over the long term. So I do. I think my ETF PP, my PP. We always like to say, don't. Like I tell my son, I'm like, why would you want to short PP? I think it will. Maybe I'm delusional, but I think it will. Over the long run, outperform the market. So yeah, I do. Again, maybe that's delusional. I think other people should make their own ETFs too. Everybody should make their own. I made mine mostly because of the tax benefits of it. But yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. It's also why I want to create a hedge fund, because there are so many swing trade opportunities that I think can way outperform.
Yeah. But now, don't you feel worried about managing other people's money to that degree? Because you could do this yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, the ETF would be expensive, and I know you get tax advantages from that, but you could just manage your own money and not take on anyone else's.
Well, I think there are individuals who say, you know what, I have faith in what Kevin sees, and Kevin realizes if he makes a mistake, he's going to learn from it, and he's going to try to do better. And if he does well, great, then it works. So, I mean, I don't encourage people to copy me. I don't encourage people to invest in my stuff. Like, if you want to invest in whatever we're doing, that's fine. But ultimately, I think everybody's kind of got to look at their own situation themselves and figure that out for themselves.
Do you think your viewers can be the market?
Well, it depends what they're doing with their own personal portfolios. Like, I think it's very hard to beat the market if everyone's sort of like YOLO day trading, mostly because what I found, and I didn't know this, but I learned this recently, is once you get to a certain size of where you're trading options, you get screwed on day trades because you'll put an order in and the options market will just destroy you before you can even realize your profit. Like you could have done the perfect day trade, but then by the time your position is closed, it doesn't work anymore. So I found that most hedge funds, because of that, they're going out 9 months to 6 months in their swing trading. 90 days to 6 months in their swing trading. And so I had to learn that the hard way.
Now, this is kind of a nuanced question, so we'll just be really brief over it. But why don't you sell covered calls against your positions to just make a little bit more money, even if they're really conservative ones?
Do you remember when you asked Kevin about this question about why he doesn't sell covered calls for his Tesla stock?
That was we did that on another podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you
And I
asked
think
me
it
that.
hit the price, though, that it would have triggered your call, and you would have sold and incurred the tax liability.
Well, so we'll
you
be
put
fair
back-
about
right?
this in both ways.
If he had sold from beginning to end,
So
it could have been a...
if I had sold calls when you asked me the first time, I would have missed that crazy Tesla run up. But in fairness, from then it went down for 2.5 years. It would have been perfect to sell calls during that 2.5 years. It would have been a great strategy because you could have just kept farming income. So I think it's market dependent. I think there are times it absolutely makes sense, but it depends on the market. Declining or sideways market, by all means, sell calls. But then it also turns into like you have to have the time to manage all this stuff. So it's sometimes you put a position in the market. If you forget about it, you get screwed.
that's true.
That's the risk. Yeah.
So what have you learned over the last 2.5 years, would you say, when it comes to either money, business, family? What are the biggest takeaways?
The biggest takeaway for me is, number one, buy real estate. Everybody should buy real estate. Buy as much real estate as you can. People are like, oh, I don't make enough money to buy real estate. Make more money. Figure out how to make more money. People are like, oh, it's so easy to say make more money. Really? Like there are people who get their pilot's license and they make $150,000 like out of the gate. Or you become a CPA or an attorney, you're making 6 figures out of the gate. Any trade, basically. You could be an electrician, a plumber. Like you can make 6 figures. Like go do it. If you're making less than 6 figures, you're doing something wrong. That's lesson number one. Then lesson number two, go buy real estate. That's never changed. Get a good deal, buy more real estate. Lesson number three, if you're going to invest in a passive portfolio in the stock market, it should be 20 plus stocks. Don't go all in on one stock. It's a horrible idea. It's very stupid. At minimum, I think somebody should have 20 stocks in their portfolio. And so that could be in a diversified ETF. It could be in, an index fund, whatever. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do stocks, it should be that, especially if you're using retirement accounts, which you should max those out anyway. So that's something that has changed. So make more money and buy real estate. That has never changed. Buy single-family real estate. Please stick to single-family real estate. It's so much better than multifamily real estate. People are like, oh, you could scale with multi. It's bullshit. Like the amount of work that goes into multifamily, the net caps are probably lower than they are on singles, which is crazy because they don't look that way on paper. It's just once you account for all the BS you have to deal with multis. Then realize that probably the best stock that's going to make you, the one stock that will make you the most money is your own business or a startup that you're in where you're getting equity. So if you're working for a company where you're making equity, that's the best stock you could ever have. That's not to say you shouldn't diversify away from it, but I think broadly the stock market is probably a scam. It's probably just designed to dilute the crap out of retail investors who are paying stock comp for other people. So I think the stock market, if you're too concentrated, is just a piggy bank for the people who own most of the shares, and then they dilute the crap out of you with stock-based comp. So again, that's why I say you should diversify. But that was sort of like the lesson of like Tesla. It's like, okay, cool. Elon's rich. Now he's going to sell $25 billion of Tesla. And the stock goes down for 2.5 years because it becomes the easiest short trade because he's selling. And, you know, insiders are selling and dumping on the retail investor that's believing in this vision. But you're not inside the company realizing that sales are hitting a wall, margins are about to go hit a wall, and you're not benefiting from the inside information that they are and trading against you with. That's, I think, why probably Congress outperforms.
Yeah.
They know.
What have you learned in terms of family?
Well, what I've learned about family is family is a lot more fragile when it came to Summer, basically being, we called her a coin toss baby. You know, she was born with an emergency C-section, triplet. She had a 50% chance of dying. That really changed me as a person because I realized all of the money and the YouTube subscribers or the plane or whatever, none of that matters. What matters at the end of the day, what matters is I want to sit with my family and watch the fireworks over a beer, have a Mai Tai with Lauren, a glass of wine. How far can I throw Jack versus Max? We did this yesterday for July 4th. Watch the fireworks get, lit up by the neighbors. We have a Mexican neighbor who has a mariachi band every year, and they do these like crazy fireworks all the time. We're like, this is the best free show ever. They totally lit the median on fire yesterday. And I'm going over with like a bucket of water, like trying to like put it out before the fire truck comes in. Like, those are the things that I live for. So I live for like family with good and bad experiences, going to islands of adventure, like having a kick-ass time, or getting kicked out of the park because you're having too much fun. Like, those are fun.
Was that a thing?
I've never been kicked out of a park, but I've definitely gotten yelled at a lot because I'm a clown. But I just have too much of a good time. But that's where I've become this sort of like work hard, play hard. And so in work, I've kind of turned into this like, I'm going to put my best foot forward. If it all fails, no problem. I'm just going to keep trying and push. But then I'm going to have a good time. And I think that's what's been the best therapy for me about family is no matter what, I can lose everything. I can still sit there and play video games with my kids. I can still play Nerf guns in the alley with my kids because that bare minimum I don't think ever goes away unless there's a health concern. And summer taught me that. It taught me that I could lose everything, and as long as I still have my family and we can still like scrape together a Mai Tai and some Nerf guns, we're good.
How many kids do you think you're planning on having?
All of them.
As many as possible.
Yeah. One of the reasons we just bought another house, the one next door to us, is because Lauren said we will not have more children until we have a larger house.
So immediately, what does Kevin do?
Pay 30% more for the next house.
Correct. Because that's how important children have become to me. I don't care about the money. I really don't. It doesn't matter. It's the family.
So how many kids? Like realistically, you got 7 now.
Double digits.
10 kids.
At
12
least.
kids.
Yeah.
At least.
Is it expensive to, have all these kids?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't make money. I spend it all, which isn't smart. But, the plane costs a lot of money. Nannies cost a lot of money. Diapers cost a lot of money. Food costs a lot of money.
Do you ever worry that you can't give 11 kids enough like one-on-one attention versus if it were just you and like 3 children? Like you'd get a lot of attention with those 3.
Yeah, but I found that I was an only child, but the vast majority of the time that you're with family, you're not actually spending time one-on-one with people. You're like, most of the time it's like people are sitting around, they're doing their homework, you're scrolling on TikTok or whatever, right? So what I've found is I want to really concentrate family experiences onto set times where I'm not going to think about work. So like we're going to Islands of Adventure with both kids, or we're having a July 4th party, or I take one child and we go on a trip, and then I have dedicated time, and then we'll just trade out kids, right? So I want to go like when I'm with the kids and family, all in on kids and family, and then they get enough time. Yeah, because most of the time, if you think about it, like people are like, oh, there's not enough time in the week. But look at how much time there is in the week. If you sleep 8 hours a day, you have 112 hours during the week. Well, most people, it's like, well, I have to work 40 hours. No, you don't. The average work week is 35. That's because you get paid time off, you get holidays off, vacation time, you take off early. When you divide it out, you're working 35 hours a week on a 40-hour-a-week job. So what are you doing with the rest of the, 65 plus 12? What are you doing with the rest of the 77 hours a week? Well, even if I just dedicate, 3 hours per child, if I have 7 kids, that's 21 hours a week, I still have 66 or 20, 50, something. Yeah. 20 minus 7. It's 56 hours left to focus on whatever else I want to do.
So do you think you could have 20 children?
Yeah. Yeah. And dedicated time for the entire family, dedicated time for each person. But when you have that time...
At what point is it going to be too much, though? 50 kids.
Yeah,
50 kids.
I mean, obviously, at some point...
Come on. Come on.
At some
50,
point, it won't work, right? It's just not going to function. But I think realistically, we probably start capping out at like 13 or 14 kids. And to where I could still spend that dedicated time with each child and the children together.
How much does it cost per child? Do you think a year?
Yep, each
The
child.
average.
I would guess each child's probably 100 to 200K, somewhere
A
in that range.
year?
Probably. Yeah.
So you have 10 kids, it's $1 million a year.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that not scare you? That's a lot of money.
It is, yeah. But that's where I've just looked at, That's the only thing that motivates me to work is my family.
So it's more motivation. It's an ROI play.
Yeah, my father-in-law always told me, like, you want the best motivation, sink yourself up to your eyeballs in debt and bills, and then you have to work hard. So, well, I got a lot of kids, and I got a plane to pay for. So, yeah.
But before we get into that, when I first moved to Vegas a few years ago, it was actually my first time living far away from my hometown back in California, and recently I took a little bit of a spill and it made me learn a very valuable lesson. I realized how hard it is just to get a hold of a doctor, let alone finding a doctor that's accepting of new patients and your insurance.
That, of course, is where Zocdoc comes in. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment.
We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and so much more.
You could filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical needs you might have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. You could also see their actual appointment openings, choose a day and time that works for you, and click to instantly book an appointment. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You could even score same-day appointments.
I seriously recommend it, guys. If you just need something to get checked out, at the very least, just throw Zocdoc's hat in the ring. I think you will be very pleasantly surprised how easy it is to find care. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/ice today to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That is ZocDoc.com/iced, Zocdoc.com/iced. Thank you so much, Zocdoc, for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.
Are you ever worried you have too much on your plate between all of the different responsibilities that you have, all of the overhead that you have, all of these different businesses that you're taking on, the family, the amount of kids that you have, the friendships, everything? Do you ever worry that you have too much on your plate?
No, I'm bored a lot. Not at all. It's kind of crazy. People think I'm
How are
crazy.
you bored? There's no way you're bored.
I am. I'm bored a lot.
What do you do when you're bored?
Day trade, which is very stupid.
Is there any value in simplicity?
Not for me. Yeah. No. So you have to look at it this way. When we create these businesses, the goal isn't that I'm responding to every tenant's inquiry. The goal is to train a team to run the business. And so my goal is just to be that little like flame, that little annoying person that comes in like, all right, let's hurry. This is the priority. Let's prioritize and let's cut out the BS. Let's make sure everybody's on task. But I don't want to sit in the office for 8 hours a day micromanaging people. I trust people and I pay them well. And then I have faith for that they're going to do the right thing. And then I check and I follow up. But I don't micromanage. So there's actually very little I do in a day.
How much would someone have to pay you for you to be their employee?
Oh, you would hate me as an employee. I think
If they want, hey,
Okay.
like I want someone else to help me run the business. Maybe they're a
30,
consultant.
yeah,
They-
35 hours a week for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But you have to be in the same place.
Yep.
Working in an office.
So here's what would have to happen. And I've thought about this before. I would, in order for me to be somebody else's employee, all of my businesses would have to fail. Everything would have to go bankrupt. And then I would have to probably, well, I wouldn't have the plane anymore. That's okay. But I'd probably need enough to pay for all of our expenses and our bills, and we can bare minimum those. I'd probably have to be paid to be somebody's, employee for 35, 40 hours a week, clock in, clock out sort of thing. Probably have to just be like $1 million a year. Not even that much.
Okay, but
relative to like my own income. Right.
But
Right.
What
That's
if
a
they
lot for a
wanted
lot
you
of people.
right now? Like you have a CEO of a big company right now that like, I want someone, a sidekick to help me run the business.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a number for that because I would have to fail alone first and then take all my experiences and help somebody else.
no,
Well,
let's
that's
let's
not
just
true.
say
Because
they
someone's
offer
offers you $5 billion.
Yeah.
Right? Then you say, of course.
Yeah,
Well,
they
yeah,
offer
that's fair.
$100
Right. So
million
there's a number.
year.
It's just where that number
Okay,
lies.
fair.
Yeah.
So what I have to look at is what's the value of the companies that I create. So let's say I have this delusion in my head that House Hack is going to be a $20 billion company in 10 years and my broker dealer has a potential of being a $10 billion company in the future. Okay, so that's $30 billion. And let's say my eventual ownership of these companies of 30 billion is, I don't know, 33% or whatever. So that's $10 billion. Let's say that's the number. Okay. So now you got me at a number. If somebody's like, well, I'll give you 10 right now to be my slave for 35 hours a week. Yeah, probably. It'd probably even be a lower number, right? Because like there's
It's
uncertainty.
guaranteed,
It's
yeah.
guaranteed versus the uncertainty. So you walk that back. It probably would have to be $1 billion to
$1
be
billion a year.
No, just $1 billion.
Just $1 billion, and they could get
But
you
for
for
how-
5 years.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so 200 million a year,
Probably
locked up for 5 years.
Yeah, that's probably what I think the value of what I'm doing right now is.
It was
Yeah.
interesting because in one of our first podcasts, you said you admired the lifestyle of Nate O'Brien, of just being able to
Yes,
get
I
in the
do.
car, just drive somewhere, just chill, no
I can never do
employees,
it.
no obligation. But you said back then you admired it, and then
I
we
do.
said
I still do.
and then you said I could never do it. And I said, well, you could do that right now if you wanted to.
I still can't because even though I know I can, and even though I still admire that answer is the same. I can't because I need to have something going on. In fact, because I get bored so much, I keep having more and more great ideas for our businesses to expand. And I love that. In fact, my employees get nervous when I go on a run because they're like, oh no, he's going to come back with an idea. I went on I was supposed to go on like a 50-minute run. I think it was last Wednesday. I was 15 minutes into the run and I'm like, we need to sue CNN right now because the presidential debate is coming up and I need to be commenting on that live. And it is un-American if they stop me from doing that. So we sued the crap out of them.
How much was it?
Oh, well, I mean, we
How
sued
much
them.
was it to file?
Oh, like $1,500. So it's not about the money. It was that I needed to air. I needed my rights not impeded to be able to cover that. And so I cut my run short. Like I beelined back. So and I'm coming into the office sweaty, and I'm like, everybody together now. And I'm like, for the importance of every single company, for House Hack, for you, everyone, we must sue this company. We are not leaving here until we sue CNN. We sued CNN before we left. So that's the way we operate.
I saw that video. I didn't think there's any way that CNN's actually going to be like, going after people who do the live stream.
They
comment
threatened
too.
they would.
There's so many people doing it that it would be like a whack-a-mole where it's like, oh, one over here,
But
one over
Apple-
here, one over here,
Apple
one over
does it.
here.
And so they have ways of doing it because YouTube makes it so easy to just say, oh, they're airing our content, take down. And the problem is as soon as you get taken down, you get a strike on your channel, you get banned from live streaming for a week, and you lose all the retention that you just had, all the viewers that were there. So we had to sue them to make it clear, like, don't mess with us.
What happened with the lawsuit?
They didn't take us down. So whether it was because they forgot or because they decided it would be too bad of PR to take anyone down, we look at it as a win, right? We were able to stream. So we even said that day, look, if they don't take us down, we will dismiss the lawsuit. So we just dismissed the next day because they didn't take us down.
Yeah. How many hours a week would you say you work?
My mindset, I feel like, is that I'm always working, but it's mostly because I'm thinking of there's so many different things going on. I have to think to myself, okay, I probably work, 40, 50 hours a week just doing the YouTube content, right? That's a lot of like, I gotta read earnings reports. Sometimes I research for hours and then I don't make a video on it because I'm like, it's not good enough or whatever, but it's in the back of my mind. So there's a lot of that. That's sort of my baseline full-time job. The rest is like, okay, what's the highest priority now to get, let's say, the real estate startup to the next level? Okay, we need to get this done with this attorney. Okay, give me a checklist. And then we start working on that. And sometimes I'll stay up through the night getting paperwork done or getting, filings ready or whatever. But it probably works out to like a 70, 80-hour a week work schedule.
How many hours a night do you sleep?
That's pretty bad. Usually only like 5.5 or 6. I'm too anxious.
You could function on that. I remember when we would go on trips, you would sleep for 4 hours.
Sorry, I'm getting hot here.
Yeah. You would wake up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, go for a run,
Yeah.
and come back at like 8, wide awake on like 3-4 hours of sleep.
I have probably more trouble sleeping than I let on because I'll wake up just thinking about my businesses and like, oh, we need to do, and then it's like, I feel so bad, but sometimes I'll send my employees messages at like 3 a.m. or whatever, like, we need to make sure this happens. And like sometimes I worry I come across as like a D-bag in messages because it's just like to the point, like we really need this, whatever. But it's like this mind is always cooking with like, oh my gosh, we need to do this next and this next. So it's not like I'm sitting 8 hours a day working on House Hack. It's that I'm always thinking about what's next to get to that next level so we can IPO that much sooner or that much larger. And that's a really terrible headspace because it means I can't ever turn it off. I can't really sleep more because I just wake myself up with the ideas.
All right, let's talk about some personal finances.
Okay.
This is what we did last time you were on the show, and it was really interesting because you had a huge jump
Oh, yeah.
in personal finances. Now,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
the stock market's changed and a lot of
Oh,
stuff
for
has
sure.
changed. But what is your net worth?
Yeah, I don't know because of the companies, right? So it's the last time I think we were on the podcast, it's gone. The investment portfolio, I had to pay like a lot of taxes. I think I had to pay like $13 million in taxes. So I got absolutely destroyed by taxes because I had a $13 million tax year, and then before that, I still had a $6 million tax year. So I had massive tax implications. The only reason I didn't have to pay taxes for the year 2022 is because I bought the plane. So taxes really hit my investing portfolio a lot. And then I floated my companies as I started them for a while. And then obviously Tesla stock was like straight down. Yeah. Now, of course, I've had income, and my income probably offset my Tesla hits. But the hard thing to understand now is what's the value of all of the businesses, and then you look at like, okay, well, the plane's an asset. What's the value of that? What's the value of the companies? So I don't know. If I had to guess, it's probably around a similar level as to where we were last time. But it's in so many different places, and we don't even have stock compensation or ownership plans built for some of these companies. Well, some of them I own wholly, some of them I don't. So I don't know. I think I will have a better answer of that if we do this again next year, because then we're also going to know the trajectory of the companies. See, in 2024, we have this very, very difficult situation where we don't know if our broker-dealer is going to work. So it could be an overnight $200 million company or an overnight failure. And it probably will be when we launch it.
What's the broker dealer?
Well, it's a little bit of a secret, but it has to do with innovating in the ETF space that I think nobody has done. And when it's done, could be something that creates this massive annual recurring revenue for our companies. Well, for that particular company. It's also a benefit to HouseHack because of how we're going to structure it. I look at it as like the wealthy person's Robinhood. And so it would appeal certainly to people in the 1%, but every single person in the 1% should be using this service when we launch it. So going back to your question, it's really hard to know right now because this is the catalyst year. It's also a catalyst year for HouseHack. So HouseHack is a $100 million company. Great. It could stay a $100 million company. Or if we pull off what we're trying to do by December, which is IPO our first REIT, if we can pull that off, this will go to $1 billion plus. And so this year is extremely stressful because of that, because there's so much uncertainty. And if all of these ideas fail, my net worth will tank because I threw so much at it.
Where are you assigning that net worth? What is it, 45 million bucks or so? Somewhere around there.
Sure.
Like, how are you assigning that then?
Well, I mean, it would be. I mean, I don't know because I haven't sat down to allocate it. But I mean, it's the value of my ownership in HouseHack. It's the value of the personal real estate that we still own. It's the value of the plane less the debt. It's the value of, if I mentioned, obviously stock portfolio or what's in a long portfolio versus trading account. But then it's also, how do I value my ownership? I haven't done a single dime of stock-based compensation of HouseHack, for example. I control 100% of the company because my goal isn't to try to tap this $100 million company for net worth. It's to turn it into a multi-billion-dollar company, and then we can issue stock comp for Kevin, right? So how do I value that right now? I have absolutely no idea. So what I told myself is I'm willing to, it's basically a big YOLO. I'm willing to YOLO what I had then after taxes, call it 25 after taxes. I'm willing to YOLO 25 after taxes then into what I think will be $1 billion, right? That's my goal. If all of those ideas fail, then my net worth will probably be even lower. Yeah.
But why risk it? I just think 25 after tax.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
beat the game.
Yeah.
You won.
Yeah.
And even just if you put all of that in real estate, I know you would be able to make 7% on that.
Oh,
safely.
yeah.
And so like 7% on 25, what is that's a huge number.
1.5 million?
Yeah.
1,750.
I don't care.
And then, California, all that sort of stuff. So after tax,
Call it half of it,
150.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's still really good money, right?
That's your $1 million a year.
No,
that you
but,
could
but I
kick
don't
your-
want that. I don't want $1 million a year. I want to go ring the bell at a stock exchange with a multi-billion-dollar business many times. That's all I care about, because that means I made the people who trusted me and came to be in my low in 2022, I made them multimillionaires. The new people that come work for me, I made them millionaires. I set my children up for if they want to work for these companies in the future, they have an option to, right? I don't want to be that person where it's like, oh, I'm going to like put my child above like a person who's been working for me for 10 years. I'm not going to do that. They got to start at the bottom. They're going to start at the intern wage, right? But the point is, I want to build that sort of like empire of businesses. Like I actually admire Trump for that. The Trump brand, right? A lot of people don't like Trump, and I understand that. But what I saw in The Apprentice, that was in my childhood when we were bankrupt. And I'm watching The Apprentice, and I'm like, I want that. And so it's not about, like if a financial advisor looked at me 2 years ago, they're like, Kevin, do what you just said, right? But the fire in me must be utilized is my mental problem. It is I think I'm mentally broken. So I agree with you. I probably need therapy. But I think I'm broken because I'm YOLOing that for that. But I've also convinced myself that, well, worst case scenario, I'll just have a Mai Tai with Lauren and play Rust, and I don't need that much money, right? So I've accepted the downside, and I look at the upside as so tremendous for so many other people. That's not about just the money for me.
Now, why not just take 10, index fund it, put it aside?
Oh, I've done that.
You lock up the keys.
So,
yeah?
but I've
Okay.
done that. But
Okay.
that's cash.
Okay.
It's just cash, money markets, like. But I have to, because I need to have. I think it is right about 10 in cash, because I need to be able to know that if we go into a recession, I can pay all of the bills for these children and for the plane to make sure that I can run these businesses through a recession and not lose that call option. Because I don't want to get like margin called. You know, imagine if I'm like YOLO all in margin and then I get margin called, then I go bankrupt, I lose the plane and my businesses go away. Well, then I ruined everything.
What's the spending every year between like the plane and the ETF?
Probably
and the
4.
kids and 4?
The ETF doesn't cost me anything right now. The
Break
ETF,
even?
The ETF actually makes a little bit of money now because it's performed very well. The plane's about 2.5, and then I would guess that my ancillary expenses are probably $1 million-ish. So it's probably like 3.5.
Does that stress you out?
It makes me work. Yeah.
To me, it would overpower my desire to work. Like I could deal with a little.
He would be
stress.
so burdened by that.
Yeah, to me, it would feel like
Yes.
I'm in a cage or a prison where now I have to hit that number, otherwise I lose money every year.
But see, that's
Because
why.
then now you have to get a return on
Yes.
that.
But that's also why it's so hard to calculate that. I'm not trying to calculate that return on that 3.5. I look at it as, well, if I have 10 in cash, I look at it as I got 3 years. So I got 3 years to prove these businesses, assuming I make 0. Now, fortunately, right now I'm making more than I'm spending, which is good. Like, knock on wood, I hope that continues. But if I make less than I'm spending, then I'm dipping into that reserve.
How do you make $4 million a year? Because I mean, for all of us, our incomes have, at least I can say, for me, gone down substantially.
Well, first of all, we realized that a big event is a money-losing thing. I probably will never do one again. And it's not that it's about making money. It's I really did enjoy providing that value for everybody. But the problem is, and I felt really bad about this, there were so many, we only had so much time, and there are so many people that still have very niche problems. And they're not like financial advice problems. They're like entrepreneurial. Like, we want to do this partnership. We want to do this business. We need help with this branding or this or that or whatever. And we just want your opinion. Whether we use it or not, we just want your opinion. We want to be able to powwow with you for an hour or whatever. So I'm like, all right, we have the plane. Let's do a quarterly mastermind, maybe even more frequently. We'll see. We haven't started it yet. But let's do a mastermind where, it's like, it's a lot, but it's like $14,000 or whatever a year. But then we go, fly around to various different locations multiple times a year, and we'll do a small like group meetup of 5 to 10 people or whatever, and we'll really strategize, and people can network with some other, higher net worth individuals. So, like, for example, I mean, we've got people that are like CFOs of publicly traded companies, or like hotel owners, or real estate owners that own like $400+ million. It's crazy the people that actually watch our channels, and so we can't really wait to really keep that going and accelerate that. So that's been pretty good. YouTube ad revenues obviously come down. Sponsorships have come down. Courses are a revenue stream. But that has probably been something that's been a game changer, is like that sort of higher ticket sales, right? Because there's some people who bought my courses, for like $300, $400, $500 in like 2019, and they still can come every single day, right? There's no recurring revenue model there. The mastermind has a recurring revenue model because it's like an annual thing.
Let's talk about for the viewer. They're listening. They've been listening for a couple of hours now. They want to see what they can employ, what strategies they can do to better off themselves financially.
Better off themselves.
The viewer wants to know how they can better themselves financially. Graham loves this question. If you're poor in America with no disabilities, no dependents, anything out of the ordinary, between the ages of, let's say, 25 and 55, is it your fault?
If you're not making money or you're poor?
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. 100%. It's absolutely your fault. If you're not making more than 6 figures and you don't have disabilities and you're 25 plus years old, usually the problem though is the mindset. People start with, well, I'm 25 and I'm not making 6 figures. Kevin says I'm entitled to make 6 figures. No, I'm not saying that. So people get this idea of that, okay, well, I'm a loser because I'm not making 6 figures. No, that's not true. You haven't figured out how to provide value to society yet. Once you figure out how to provide value to society, you will be paid a lot more than 6 figures. That could be as an attorney, a doctor, as a pilot, as a CPA, as a real estate agent, as a lender. I don't care what it is, but you have to do something as a professional. There are plumbers who make $200,000-$300,000 a year running small little plumbing shops. They're doing hard work. People are like, oh, look, ass crack plumber or whatever. That guy's making over 6 figures, probably making more than the people calling him out.
And what do you say to the people that say not everyone can do those things?
I totally disagree. I mean, if you're not disabled, how could you not pick from even the litany of things that I just mentioned? The trades, software, piloting, accounting, attorney. I'm going to become an attorney. It's going to take 4 or 5 years, but I just signed up to take the LSAT in November, and then I'm going to go to law school for 4 years.
Really?
How? I just don't even know how.
How do you find the time for that?
Because I'm bored. I'm serious. Like, people think I'm like not bored. I get bored.
No, isn't it though that you have to work with a firm after you take the LC? You go through law school. You have to work with a firm, right?
Kevin's
for the first
probably
few
going to
years?
create a firm.
We already
Yeah.
did. It's called Law Hack.
Did you know
You're
this?
kidding me. You
I'm
really?
serious. We created a law firm.
Law hack?
House hack, law hack,
Yeah, no, I
stock
know.
hack,
Yeah, I
suit
get
hack.
it.
You
I get
the-
it.
But easy picking up on that.
But
That's law hack.
And what's the purpose of it? Just to say you're
No, to sue people.
so you could personally, is that good to represent yourself in those cases, or you
No,
have
I
a
want to make
company?
money from it. Because, see, like, if you're not an attorney, you can't make money from the professional corporation. It's like an APC or whatever it's called.
That's so funny. The don't sue me, bro.
Yeah, but
Now-
it's don't sue me.
Right.
But I'll sue you.
Okay, now that makes a lot of
You
sense.
should just
Okay.
change. I'll sue you, bro.
I'll sue you, bro. That's good
I'll
merch
sue
right
you,
there.
bro. I like that.
Yeah.
That's the next bag of coffee.
Wait a second,
here.
but you're saying to make money from it. I don't get how you'd make money from it unless you are charging yourself. You're paying
Oh,
yourself.
no. You
Yeah,
win
wait.
the lawsuits or settlements.
So you would sue people, settle the lawsuits, but why can't you pay someone else to do that? Like get them on a payroll.
Oh, it's way too expensive.
For
So
a payroll on that?
Well, I mean, we have a payroll attorney now, and we're
Yeah.
looking to hire another one. But no, what? Like for example, if let's say an attorney, like look at the Elon Musk lawsuit or whatever with the stock-based or stock comp
Yeah.
or whatever, the attorneys are suing for like $7 billion or whatever, which is crazy. It's stupid. They're not gonna get that. But even if they get $100 million, let's say I paid for all of the attorneys, and I'm like, man, I want a cut of that $100 million. Can't have a cut unless you're a bar licensed attorney. So you win a big lawsuit, you can't get your cut unless you're an attorney. Now, if you were the victim, you can get a cut.
Yeah.
But if you were working the lawsuit, you can't unless you're an attorney. My thinking is, I'll give you just some examples here. So somebody for House Hack does an inspection for us. They don't follow their contract. Total scumbag. He was a total asshole to me. And I'm like, whoa, like we're just asking you to inspect this part of the property, which is in your contract, right? So your contract says, yeah, we inspect these things. And he's like, no, we don't do that. And he's a total jerk or whatever. And I'm like, okay, look, keep your inspection report. I'll pay you half, but I'm not paying you $5,000. I'll pay you $2,500. I don't even want your report. I don't trust you because you're not even following your own agreement. Please go away. So they're like, no, that's not going to work. We want the full $5,000. I never even got an inspection report from them. I'm like, okay, no problem. They sue us. They're like, we want the full $5,000. So we sued them right back. They crawled up into a ball as soon as possible to beg us to dismiss our lawsuit because they were going to get absolutely reamed and destroyed. So I am in a position where I will fight no matter what. So if somebody comes after us, they're going to get sued the crap out of, and I'm going to sue them for 10 times the damage they did to me. So I'm very,
the whole
very
legal
angry.
system. It's just
The tricky part of the legal
bugs
system
me,
is
yeah.
it's so easy to sue and so hard to be sued. So I guess it makes
Well,
sense.
it's easy to
The best
yeah.
defense is a strong offense.
Exactly.
The thing is,
right?
anyone could create any lawsuit they want to, and it just costs money. So it's just
But
a
if
game
people are on
of
payroll, it doesn't matter.
It's just to me the legal
That's the
system
hack.
just seems like an eye for an eye, where it's like,
But,
hey,
you just realized that's
Yeah.
the hack. People who have payrolled attorneys spend zero on lawsuits. People who don't have attorneys now have to go retain an attorney for $20,000 as a retainer. Just to defend, it's going to cost them $50,000 to $100,000. Screwed. The legal system sucks. The only way to protect yourself is by having payrolled attorneys and by being aggressive. That's the only way to protect yourself. Because all of my businesses will have the reputation of, if you try to screw us, we won't let down. We'll come after you.
I hate to say it, if you weren't on YouTube, I've said this before, you'd make a great TV anchor
Oh, nice.
talking about the news, but also I think an even better lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take your
Yeah, you would be the one person that I would just hate to be sued by.
Well,
That would be the most annoying lawsuit.
Yeah, I would argue that your personality type would make probably for a better lawyer than
A content creator.
content creator.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's not to diminish your.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
That's
And
interesting.
your work ethic as a content creator is far and beyond anyone else that I've ever seen.
think
So
it's
to say that about law, it's just I think it's you're good at arguing, you're good at making points. But then you have a bit of what I feel like a bit of like an ego behind it, where you want to be the competition. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Of like one-upping.
Well, I don't know if it's one up. I think it's winning.
Yeah.
It's success, right? It's
Yeah.
winning. And that's why people say, like, why not retire and just be done? It's because I wanna play the game and I wanna win.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, playing the game is, I know I have an edge in real estate. I want to play the game and win. I think I have an edge in this broker dealer world. I want to play the game and win. I think I have an edge against some scumbag who thinks they're gonna sue us. I think I can double down and beat them back and win. So it's like, it's a principle thing. And even if I lose, I just want to go back into the fight. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So I tried taking 6 FINRA tests, and I only gave myself 3 months to do it. As a result, I did not give myself enough time for 2 tests. I actually failed 2 tests. And I've never failed a professional exam in my life, except for the end of last year, and I haven't told anyone this on the internet. But I failed 2 tests, the Series 24 and the 27. I missed one of them by 3 questions, and I missed one of them by like half a question. So like I was close, but whatever. But I saw it as like, as soon as I failed those, I'm like, get me back in there. Like, sign me up for the next available test date. I will go in there and I'll crush it. My suspicion is that the next time I took those tests, I probably got like 90s on them because I just so overstudied for them, and I'm like, I will not fail again.
Yeah.
And like, if I lose, it's okay. I just want to get back in and fight again. It's like the worst thing about day trading is having a red day, because then the rest of the day I'm like, I just want to get back in there and fight again.
Yeah. Are there any instructions that you could give to people where they say, if I want to be a millionaire or if I want to be successful, if I follow these instructions, I can't go wrong?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
What
That's
would you
easy.
say those are?
Real estate. Buy your own home. So first of all, make enough money to buy your own home. So go get, even if that means get a job, like with a W-2, it's really easy to buy real estate because you can qualify that income easily. Everybody should do this. This is financial advice. You should absolutely do this. And the ironic thing is, financial advisors generally don't recommend real estate because they don't make a commission on it. Real estate agents make commissions on real estate. Financial advisors make commissions on selling security products. Crazy difference. So generally, they don't recommend real estate, but everybody should buy real estate. That is financial advice. Everyone should buy real estate. And the reason for that is, when you own a home, you're investing in American real estate. You should invest in ideally a higher cost of living area where that will appreciate where jobs are. So don't buy in the middle of nowhere where the town's going to go bankrupt, and then keep buying real estate. Buy as much real estate as you can. As soon as you get to 4 properties, you're going to retire a millionaire. I'm convinced of it. Now, this is not personalized financial advice, so SEC, don't sue me, bro. But for broad financial advice, everybody should buy real estate. Get to 4 properties, hold them forever, never sell them.
Even today, at today's interest rates, at today's prices, where it's cheaper to rent.
Yep. Because your competition will make it so that you'll never own real estate. I think what I'm also very sad about is I think people are always like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to live in the future. I actually think for a person like me, the future would be very miserable because I think in 100 years, I couldn't do wedge deals in real estate. Like algorithms would be doing it. I don't think I could launch this broker-dealer service because it would all exist. Like all the innovation would already exist that I could possibly make a difference on. And then the next levels of innovation are going to be things like rocket ships. Dude, I can't start a rocket startup. I could start a real estate startup. I could start a broker-dealer startup. I can't start a rocket ship startup or a robotics startup. I don't have the money. So I think in 100 years, it's going to be very, very sad because it's going to be very hard to fight and win.
What do you think you could be wrong about today?
Everything. Absolutely everything. All of my businesses could fail. I could be wrong about every single prediction I make. My hedge fund idea could fail. My stock idea could fail. My real estate business could fail. And then I will play Rust, drink Mai Tais, and then I will finally be done.
And where
and
do
at
you
peace.
And where do you think people are wrong today? Like when you see it from your perspective.
Like you hear all of the chatter, the stuff that everyone's saying. You got to go do this. You got to. What are they saying that's wrong?
Well, the biggest thing that I think people make a mistake on is, oh, I need to save more money rather than I need to make more money. That's the biggest divergence. So people will, for example, take a 2-hour commute to save $1,000 a month. And I'm like, why don't you live closer to where the money is and go figure out how to make an extra $5,000 a month and then own more expensive real estate? And now it'll appreciate at a higher rate. So these trade-offs that people make of like, oh, well, I wanted a bigger yard. Why do you want a yard? Our yard is a waste of money. You have to take care of the landscaping, then you're going to over-improve it or whatever. We don't have a yard. We don't even have a driveway. And we now have 2 houses next to each other that don't have driveways and no yards. Why? It's the best thing ever. Because I could be with my family inside the house, or if I want to go outside, I could be outside of the park. There's a free park I could use. It's a 10-second walk away. But this idea of like, oh, no, I need a bigger house. I'm going to live further away. The stupidest thing ever. People's commute should be between 5 minutes, 15 minutes max. They should focus on their top line income, and then they should buy real estate. That's it. And most people are like, oh, I can't make more money. Get a better skill. Oh, I can't buy real estate. It's too expensive. Make more money. Oh, but I can't live over there because I'd have to have a smaller house. So that's my take.
I want you to do more impressions of people.
Oh, you like
This
the
guy,
impressions?
I like that.
Really?
I like that.
Yeah.
But Kevin. What was the
You know
one that
what's-
we
you know
used to say all the time? It was like, but Graham, or like, but
Yeah,
Kevin.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that-
there was like
no,
a,
people did that
but
too.
there was like there was one term that people used to always say. What I can't remember what it is. Like you
About me,
can't
or
do
you?
that. Yeah, about both of us.
Oh.
You know what's
yeah.
funny?
Oh, it was like, but Kevin, the average person. I think it was the average person.
Oh,
Like,
but
the average
that's the
person can't
mentality
do
that gets people stuck. The average person listens to Andrew Tate and thinks that they are entitled to make money, that working a job is slavery, and that women are beneath them, and that they are entitled to make money without going out and getting a better skill. That is so opposite. First of all, respect women equally. Second of all, if you think you're not making enough money, it's on you. You got to figure out how am I going to do more, and then you'll get rewarded.
You know what's funny? When you guys both laughed at the exact same time, it sounded like those like super exaggerated like rich guy laugh thing.
Kevin.
That is so funny. We'll re-edit that in as A-roll. It's going to be.
I do feel bad because one of the things that I do think that, well, first of all, people are going to watch this. They're going to want to punch me in the face. They're going to think I'm out to get you and use you and hate you. And I really,
This was my idea. This was my idea. So.
Yeah, the team is like, Kevin, are we going to go over and film a vlog? Are we going to, they all wanted to come because they wanted to meet you and they wanted to film a vlog. And they're like,
I'm surprised it was just you. I opened the door. I was like, I was expecting, because we talked, I think we talked about it.
Yeah, we're like, at least he's bringing McKay.
well, yeah, because usually when we go do something like this, we'll do a podcast also. Like, even if it's like 20 minutes, like you on the couch afterwards, I'll ask you 10 questions or whatever. Like when I went to Tim Pool, we did that or whatever. Usually it's always, I bring the team and we maximize it. We vlog it, we do videos on the jet, whatever. And I had no idea what questions we were going to ask, but my intention of coming here alone was to hopefully reiterate that this is not about me. If at least some people listen to what I'm talking about and they go, okay, normal person who makes mistakes, got it. What is he actually saying about finance? He's right. That's what I need
Let
to
me
do.
ask you, do you worry about being unrelatable now?
I
mean, have you given up on that?
totally given up on that. So, like, first of all, I've never been relatable. I was bullied as a child.
I feel like you have.
I
You
don't-
have been, yeah. In the early days, like I'm talking like 2017 YouTube, 2018 YouTube. I feel like you were really relatable. I think everyone in the finance space to a certain degree was.
I guess I just never felt that way because, like, I'm jumping out of bushes. I'm doing like stupid pranks and like stupid and having these weird perspectives. I always thought that was unrelatable. I always thought my marketing in real estate was so unique that it was unrelatable. People were like, ew, you put your face in your car? Oh my God, you like the way I marketed or whatever. Oh, no pressure agent. Oh, you're weird. Didn't want to work for a broker. When I was a kid, I was bullied because everything I did was different. I've always been of this like weirdo kind of. People have cast me out as a weirdo. So I've never really tried to fit in. And I don't know. I've also now, like, I do think there was a period of time in YouTube where it would make sense, like, okay, well, let me at least try to fit in because it's probably good to be relatable. But now I've just kind of gotten to this, like, I'm just not going to beat around the bush anymore. And I'm just going to give it straight and just be real.
Yeah.
Like, I personally, people are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm going to say it. I hate Andrew Tate. I think he's a cancer and a menace to society, and he ruins most young Americans, mostly men. It ruins their opportunities to get into a relationship, to stay in a relationship, and to make money. I think he's the opposite of what people should listen to.
What other opinions do you have that are like wildly unpopular that maybe the old Kevin wouldn't have shared when he was a little bit more conscious, but now at this point you have what you want, you're comfortable saying exactly how you feel?
I do think in the past I was afraid, and this is something I was thinking about, maybe that is what came through. I was afraid of complimenting other people for doing good work. I've always had that problem, and I've found just over the last couple of years, having employees is kind of like raising children. That's not saying they are children. It's I care for them like they're my children. And I want them to succeed so freaking badly. And I need them to know, like all of them, that I trust them. And I don't need to micromanage them because I trust them. I don't need to track their hours and check what they're doing because I trust them. But at the same time, I also need them to know that I'm so grateful and thankful for what they do. And I don't say that enough. And so I also think that 2020 Kevin, or even 2019 Kevin, probably would have never said, I love your content. Like, you do great work, but you deserve that. And I don't think I ever said that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I've changed a lot. I mean, Jack has seen it firsthand from like 2020 through today. Going back to the relatable topic, I wanted to mention that in the beginning, I was so cheap, like very cheap with everything that I would do. And I remember back then, I don't want to say it was celebrated, but people really liked it. Back when I was like grinding through the duplex and like, hey, this is 900 square foot place.
Kevin,
and I
hold
rent
my
out this one.
Starbucks.
Yeah, but I would
remember
never.
that?
Yeah, I remember that. But there were so many little things that I would do, like the instead of buying trash bags, I'd reuse grocery bags and like little things that would save.
That
like
was in the
5,
duplex.
10
You made a
cents.
video out of that.
Yeah, there's like
but
little
people would
10
relate to
cents,
that.
but they would love it.
Yes.
It seems like that has completely shifted once I started making more money. The fact that I've kept a lot of those habits. Now it like turns people off in such a way that I've never seen before. Like it's cute when you're doing those things to be like cheap when you're saving money. But now people are, Graham, you're so cheap. You should be like, you could finally afford these things. And like, why aren't you doing it? Now they almost look at it like a bad thing.
They
where it's
saw
like,
it as you being like, financially smart when you were
Yeah.
younger, but now they see it as delusion because,
Yes.
you have a lot of money and yet you still do these practices that like, you know what I mean? So they're like, well,
right.
something must be
those
off with this.
exactly. But a lot of those things
Yeah.
really haven't changed. Like
No, I believe
I've
that.
eased up, but I've eased up to the point where I should have been 5 years ago. So I'm like back then.
Did you get
to
your
what a
free
normal-
gift at the timeshare?
I did actually. Yeah, they well, it was the deal. The whole deal was to go to the timeshare.
Watch the presentation,
But you know
get a
what? But
free
I did.
gift,
But
right?
but I did get a $75 gift card.
Yeah. And did you buy the timeshare?
No. They were really easy on that, by the way.
Yeah.
The timeshare. I was going in expecting them to hound me on this thing.
yeah.
But they were
So-
super nice.
So they
Yeah.
somebody from that sales team came to my event. And they're like, I think Graham just checked in here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. And they're like, yeah. And then I went through, we were going through like our appointments for the next day for the team, and his name showed up. And I'm like, dude, he just wants the free gift.
Is that now?
So can you explain to the viewers watching what exactly it is you're talking about?
Okay, so I went on this vacation a while ago, and they gave me at the very end of it this offer. They say, hey, if you put down a deposit, you could book these 5 nights. And all you have to do is sit through a 90-minute presentation, but you get a discount on this room. I said, that's a great deal. So I did it. And then I show up, and you texted me, I hope you're enjoying your stay. I'm like, how did you know this? But apparently, yeah, the sales team. Now, they went really easy on me, and I think it's because maybe they knew that. And they just gave a heads up to like, hey, this guy's not going to buy
There's
it.
no way you're going to close this guy.
Yeah, but it was so funny when the guy, so they had this initial lady who toured us through, and she was amazing. Like, I could tell, the whole sales thing, so friendly. And she was like a violin teacher and talked about like how vacations like helped her out, like really sweet. And then they got the closer and the finance guy. And so we sat in a room, and they brought us waters, and they left. And it was just Macy and I in the room for a few minutes. I'm like, this is by design. They want us to,
Sure.
they want like in a perfect world, Macy be like, Graham, isn't this so nice?
should do this.
We
Yeah,
should
yeah,
do this,
of
like
course.
to build the pressure. The sales guy came in, kind of went through the initial like a 1-page thing, and he says, what do you think of it? And I told him, honestly, I'm just here because of the discount. I have no intention of buying anything, but I'm just here. Like, I really appreciate your time. I don't mean to waste it, but
Sure.
I'm just here for that. Closed his book. All right, man, I really appreciate it. Yeah, enjoy. Left.
Nice.
Did nice, but he also watched the channel. So I think he knew. He walked in. And
They
was
all
like,
probably knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I thought, like, there's no
That's
way it's
funny.
that easy.
But
There's no way.
So
but
the reason I brought that up is because that is you. That's
Yeah.
frugal Graham. I wouldn't do it. I'm a different person. I'm like 90 minutes of my vacation. Hell no, right? I've never gone.
I,
to a
enjoy,
time
I
trip.
enjoyed it. I don't know.
I hate it.
Really?
So that's where we're different, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I think like I owe you so many more compliments than I've ever given you. And this isn't like we don't ever have to do a video again. This isn't to like suck up or whatever. It's just that first of all, I wouldn't be on YouTube if it weren't for you. That I do think I've told you.
Yeah.
But I've always been so afraid to give compliments, and that was a big failure. But you truly are that person. And so people giving you hate for saving money, I don't think is fair. I think that's how you got to where you are, and that's a good thing.
Well, I think people make the argument that, when you're coming up, it makes sense to do these little things. But then when you have enough, then you shouldn't be cheap, and you should try to enjoy that.
Yeah, but
it seems like, it's counterproductive now.
Everybody has
to a
an
certain
opinion.
degree. It can be. Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion, right? And and social media is just that place where it's so easy to hate on creators because everybody's got an opinion. And the weird thing is there are a lot of people who are haters on one video that are like your biggest supporters on the next video. And I've noticed that. And you know how I learned that? My father-in-law. He used to watch Scotty Kilmer, the car guy.
Yeah, I remember him.
So he used to watch Scotty Kilmer
Yeah.
every day. And it was just like, oh my God, Scotty, this Scotty, this Scotty. And he had a used BMW too. And it was like so relatable because Scotty Kilmer hates used BMWs. He's like, what's the saying? Like, you need to be a millionaire. No, you need to make 6 figures to buy a new BMW. You need to be a millionaire to have a used BMW or something like
yeah,
that.
sure.
Whatever the saying is, right? And so relate. And he's always talking how I love Scotty. One video Scotty does, and he writes this paragraph about how Scotty's just like a bad person. How could he have said this? Oh my god, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next day he's back, Scotty Kilmer. And it's like, bro, you could have ruined his day with that comment. And you're like his biggest fan. But now you're leaving this novel of hate on one video because you didn't like one thing he said. So that actually like opened my eyes a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Some of the haters are actually like, they love you so much, but there's just that, like, maybe they're having a bad day,
Yeah.
right?
There was one that really stood out to me a while ago. This is when I first started making those videos of how much I made from YouTube ad revenue.
Yeah.
And this guy reached out, made a comment, said, this is 100% fake. How dare you mislead your viewers like this? This is irresponsible. There's no way you're doing that. You're lying. And so I reached out. I said, hey, what's your Instagram? I'll prove it to you. Gave me his Instagram. Sent him a DM. And I sent him a DM of like specific screenshots. This is before like a really screen record. I think this was like 18 or whenever I started making those videos. And I sent him all these screenshots. And I'm like, what day do you want? Like, I'll show you that day and like how it matches up over the year. You tell me what you need. And he gave me like all these specific things. And I screenshot it. Yeah. And at the end, he says, this is possible you're photoshopping it. I don't believe it. You need to now show me your tax return for me to believe this.
Wow.
And then I'm sure, and then I stop responding. Yeah. But then I'm thinking I could submit my tax return to this guy, to this anonymous internet stranger. And he could be like, well, that's Photoshop. I want to talk to your accountant.
Yeah. See,
it just keeps going. Yeah.
It's because you care about people. Like, you sincerely care about people. You don't want anybody to be hurt. And that's also why I feel so guilty for having hurt you. So I'm sorry about that.
We're good.
Would you do OnlyFans for $5 million a year?
Sure.
Sure?
Yeah.
Like full on?
Yeah.
Full frontal.
I don't care.
$2 million a year.
You don't care? Would Lauren care?
Well, it's not up to her.
You don't think so? It's not. You don't think your wife would have a say?
See, that's a
if
little
you're on
Tate-esque.
OnlyFans?
You know, the man leads the household.
No, I don't lead the household. She's my boss.
She's your boss.
I highly respect her. But we also have this understanding that we ask each other for our opinions. Generally, we almost always agree. But there are some times where I'm like, Lauren, I think that's a really bad idea. But you have the freedom to do it anyway. This would be probably one of those. I'm not going to do it.
But what if she did OnlyFans?
I mean, ultimately, that it'd probably be the same thing, right? It'd be like, I don't know, do you want to do that? But ultimately, that'd be up to her choice, and I would be okay with that.
Would that be a deal breaker to you or no?
No. I'm very much. I trust her judgment so much.
Graham is in disbelief right now.
No, I
know. I get trusting her judgment. I know she would have the judgment where she wouldn't do it.
Okay, fine. So let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Let's say her judgment was to do it. I would support her. Shout her out on the channel.
That's fascinating.
No, absolutely. It's yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I have more like this.
Well, they also have 7 kids together. Which at that point, I mean, there's, that's a different kind of. I feel.
I understand. Yeah.
How long have you guys been together now?
5 years.
5. Yeah. Wow, 5 years.
5
That's
years.
2019,
Yep.
man. That's crazy. Right before
2019.
COVID. And
Yep.
then locked down together.
Yep.
Okay, hard questions.
Okay, yeah. But these are the hardest ones. The rest was easy, man.
Okay, recently you've been getting more into politics on your channel.
Correct.
Who are you voting for?
MeetKevin.
See, that's a very diplomatic political response.
Correct.
Who are you voting for the national?
MeetKevin. I'm writing in MeetKevin on the ballot. I'm writing in MeetKevin.
Are you running again?
No, I'm not
No?
running. But I'm just gonna under the write-in, so
Really?
that way I could fill out the rest of the ballot.
Okay, well, let's say you wanted to help out the United States as much as possible.
Not
Who-
Biden.
Who would you write in?
Not Biden.
So you write in Trump.
No,
It's
because
just
I
not
think
Biden.
Biden's gonna get replaced. Yeah.
So if he was replaced by the most likely candidate, which is either
Kamala or Newsom.
you would prefer
I
to
don't know.
move to Trump.
I would vote for MeetKevin. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
'cause
not
I-
going to help the nation.
Well, it will, because a vote cast helps. California's not going to make a difference anyway. But see, the thing is, the tough thing is, I know with certainty that Biden is a disservice to the country. Biden is a national security threat. Biden's a really big problem, and it's not his fault. I mean, some people are going to say it's his fault. That's fine. He's a senile old man. He's got to go. Anybody would be better than him. Even Gavin Newsom. And I hate Gavin Newsom because I ran against Gavin Newsom. And I think the Democratic Party, which I am a part of, right now I just feel like they're a bag of slime balls lying to us.
So here's a hard question. I'm going to poke and prod. But it seems as though, because like when I tune into your content, it seems like all of your policies, all of your leanings are all conservative, Republican, and yet you continue to toe this line of being a Democrat.
Well, I think socially you're very democratic. I
Yeah.
think fiscally you're conservative.
I think
what
that's the
get
way to
from
put
that.
it. I think
Yeah.
that's how we get that sort of 51-49. Like, if somebody wants to be gay, that's totally fine. You know, I'm so for like equality.
But are the major Republican candidates, opposed to gay marriage?
Oh yeah, a lot of them, at least from what I'm hearing. When I mention this on the internet, I'll get like a spam of comments when I'm live, and people will be like, "I hate gays. I'm anti-gay," and people will like really own up to like being anti-gay. And so, well, that's not me. But yeah, I mean, I think less government is really important, but that's more of like a libertarian approach than necessarily left or right. I do think lower taxes, lower tariffs, less government, those things are all very important. I'm a big fan of tough on crime. I think that's probably more of a conservative approach. I'm also a big fan of more authoritarian intervention from the government when it comes to homelessness. Like, I think the National Guard should be deployed to build homeless shelters in California and basically make it illegal to sleep anywhere on the floor, because people are dying on the floor to drug overdoses, to crime, theft, whatever, right? It's terrible. What's happening in California is a travesty. And so that's why I ran for governor on that. Yeah, a lot of people look and they're like, oh, but all of that seems Republican. I actually think my views are not Republican or Democrat. I think they're American views. I think everybody should agree. Like, you want to be gay? That's okay. Do we need to solve homelessness? Yes. How are we going to do it? This is how. Do we need more housing? Yes. This is how we're going to do it. Do we need better schools that teach trades, so when somebody's 18, they can go to, into be an electrician or whatever? Yes. Like, I don't think any of that is left or right. I think it's American.
Would you ever run again?
Maybe.
For something?
Yeah. At some point in the future. I don't think I would now, because I really think that right now I've got to focus so heavily on just the businesses. And see, YouTube went through this cycle of like this. You get this big peak, and then it's kind of slowed down, and it's troughed, and like it slowly comes back, which is great. But during all of that, I just need to focus business. Keep those the babies growing, so to speak. They're my little babies.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best tax rate?
Oh, like what it should be?
Yes, income tax rate.
Oh, probably it should probably keep like max out somewhere in the third range. Like a third, I think, is reasonable.
30%.
Yeah,
or take.
33, something like that. I think
Progressive tax rate.
Yeah, it could still be progressive, right? You could still have 0, 10, 15, 20, right?
What's crazy to me, though, is when you see how much money the United States is spending, and you see how much they're bringing in through tax revenue. The tax revenue barely makes a dent. So you could think, theoretically, you cut back on some of these things, put tax rate at 0.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. Imagine how much
Oh, yeah.
people would save,
Oh, it'd be
invest,
incredible.
Oh yeah,
spend.
true.
0% taxes. Or maybe it
still be
might
better off.
Maybe it might work against it, though, because you need to incentivize people to spend and
There you go.
reinvest.
Exactly.
So you got to
So-
tax high enough just
See-
to incentivize to get the deductions. But
That's the thing. See, in California, if I don't have deductions, I'm paying 55% in taxes, right? And so I bought a plane because of taxes. Now I start the year with a negative $2.5 million of losses. So the money I make, it's like 100% mine basically, and I have a jet, right? So but what does that do now? Well, now I have 2 pilots on full-time staff. The airport has more services because our use to some marginal level. We have a staff flight coordinator who does all the planning, all that stuff that you hate or whatever. They deal with all that with the rental car. She's amazing. Amy, she's a goddess. So we're creating jobs because of taxes. So because I hate taxes so much, and because I paid $6 million and $13 million 2 years in a row, now I'm like, I'll go spend it. And my spending is actually enabling my little startups, which I think are call options on billions of dollars.
have you lost any money on the plane? Like, let's say you sell it today.
Oh, I'm sure I would lose money because I'd have depreciation recapture. God, it'd be terrible.
But let's take taxes out of it.
okay,
You bought the plane, I think, at 12?
12.9.
12.9. What's the plane worth today?
maybe 12.1. I keep getting emails of people offering to buy it. I'm not selling.
How is it held such great value?
Shortage? It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It should be worth 8. But right now, an $8 million plane like what I have is a plane that has, 4,000 hours and is, a smoker from 8 years ago. The plane values are nuts right now because there's a shortage. It's just because it takes so long to make planes.
Right.
I mean, think like, Embraer might make 70 of these planes a year. It's not a lot. And then what? You're going to scale up production 10%? Congratulations, you made 7 more. It's a drop in the bucket to the demand that exists. And you think there are less than 4,000, I think, private jets privately used in the world. Like you have like NetJets, that's obviously a bigger fleet, but there aren't that many private jets.
If you could ask these people one question, what would it be? Biden.
Oh God. See, he just needs to retire. So what question would I ask him? I don't really have much respect for what I think the answer would be. So I suppose I would ask, what would I ask?
How his golf game
Let's
is.
say he's sitting down right here.
He's sitting right here. Okay, so if he's sitting down right here, I would want my question to end his candidacy because that would be for the good of America. So, Joe Biden, how long are your naps every afternoon? And he had to answer honestly, it'd probably be 2-3 hours. Dude, nobody would vote for the guy.
Wait, so if he had to answer whatever question you ask 100% truthfully and honestly about anything in his entire life, what would it be?
Yeah.
It would be
His sleep
naps.
schedule over the last
You wouldn't ask about
week, whatever.
aliens. Do aliens exist?
Oh, no. I'd ask a
Who's
different
actually
president that.
running as president?
He wouldn't remember.
Who's making the decisions?
He wouldn't remember.
Wow.
He's got staff making.
Okay. Now I'm Trump. What do you ask me?
See, like Trump, I would, depending on how much time he gave me, I would just run him through all my business models and go critique me.
But if you had one question,
If I had one question for Trump, I would ask him if he were an 18-year-old today with no money, how would he start in today's environment? That's what I would ask him. My guess is he would start in real estate. Because it's so hard to imagine Trump starting with nothing because he started with that small loan of $2 million from his dad. And so I'd be really curious. I mean, a lot of people are asked that.
right? Like how
but
much
I
does
wanna
he know
hear,
on like the basic level?
yeah, I want
Yeah.
to hear his answer. Like, how is he going to help somebody making 40 grand get to 100 grand? You know, I feel like I throw those answers out all the time. It's like, well, you could intern for Kevin. Every intern who's come intern for us has started at $15 an hour. They all make over 6 figures now. Well into 6 figures. I don't think he's ever really started at that level. So it'd be very interesting to see what he would do. Would he be an entrepreneur? Would he try to go work for somebody and get a W-2, right? I'd love to see that thought process because I think the safest and guaranteed millionaire path is W-2, real estate. Real estate, real estate, real estate.
And if you knew you'd get 100% a truthful answer to any question, what would it be to Newsom?
How much did you and the Democratic Party censor my campaign?
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Because it would expose how nasty it really is. I mean, it's obviously it's like it sounds conspiratorial, but when I sit down with reporters that are like, "Hey, I work for this station, I'm not going to mention them," or whatever. They sit down with me for coffee after the election. They're like, we wanted to like cover your campaign, but we're given a script. We have to follow the script, right? Or whatever. There's so much. I would love to actually hear the truth of how nasty that political machine is because it's bad.
Who do you think is the worst person in politics right now?
Joe Biden.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Who do you think would truly make the best president of the United States right now?
Me.
Elon?
Me.
Newsom?
Kevin.
MrBeast.
No.
Who do you genuinely think? Do you have any idea? I feel like it would have to be like either Elon or like even Tucker Carlson.
Elon would hate the bureaucratic process. You need somebody who can handle bureaucrats because you are the CEO of a company
Yeah,
of
that's true. He would just
hundreds
cut
of
it all.
thousands
Tim
of
Cook.
bureaucrats. He would do better than Elon.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he can handle bureaucrats. You need a politician who can handle bureaucrats. It's the problem
Jamie
with
Dimon.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
great person.
actually.
Somebody like banking is the most
Yeah,
bureaucratic thing
right.
that exists. He would be excellent. Respect him highly. Somebody like Vivek, I would be very worried about. He's got great ideas, but the system wouldn't allow him to do anything because I don't think he can work in that system, that entrepreneurial background. I don't think he can run bureaucrats.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Who do you think would win the presidential campaign if it's MrBeast versus Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift.
Probably Taylor Swift.
You think Taylor
Yeah.
Swift?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
100%.
I would say
I
pretty
don't know.
confidently. Yeah,
I think
'cause
it'd be
everyone sees
pretty
Mr. Beast as this
50-50.
young guy. They're going to be pulling up old videos of him. Like
The
I
problem is YouTube. People don't respect YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a YouTuber versus a pioneer in the music industry and entrepreneur around that, right? I understand Mr. Beast is an entrepreneur. Highly respected. He's got a fantastic business. Like what he does is wonderful. We understand that as YouTubers. Remember when I ran for governor, the number one complaint, but you're a YouTuber. That's why 100% Taylor Swift would win. The stigma of being a YouTuber is bad.
No. Let's flip this around. What questions do you have for me or Jack?
Well, I first of all, thank you. I really appreciate all of this. This is really just enlightening. It was therapeutic. It was like therapy, and it's okay. Like people are gonna make fun of me and clip me and call me a clown or whatever. That's okay, because it was good for me. So I don't know that I have questions for you. I think what I would suggest is I want to see you posting more.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of miss you.
Yeah, not gonna. I have been telling Jack, and I think I've been telling you for a long time
You
about
have
like the
been.
posting schedule since originally. I've said this before. Late 2019, I got so burnt out of YouTube, so burnt out, and I just gave myself through my birthday. COVID hit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I started posting because it's like, well, you're home. There's so much going on. It was like brand new for me again. And I kept posting and posting and posting and posting. Then I thought end of 2021, I would stop. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to push it through April. That got pushed through. Well, if I made it through April, I'm going to make it through the end of the year. That turned into, well, I'm going to go to April again through the end of the year. And it just got to a point where I just got so tired of it.
Yeah.
And so just like over it, where it feels kind of like I did everything I wanted to.
That's fair.
I said everything I need to. There's nothing new for me to add, and it seems like I'm just spinning wheels.
Index funds.
Index funds, every videos. No, which is true. Every single video I just talk about index funds, buy and hold.
No. But
I just feel like
your perspective on the first of all, the level of research that you do, I think is excellent. I like to think I do the level of research that you do as well, except when I do that level of research, I have 10 videos, right? Because I'm going into multiple different. You make the news so easy to understand because you tie it together, make sense of it, and create a bottom line because you're planning out your videos. And I think that's really needed out there, and not a lot of people do that. I'm trying to think of who else does finance news summaries like you do, like Andre, obviously, but he doesn't post that much either. It's like once, twice a week, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think I personally would rather see more Graham main channel than second channel.
yeah. Well, the second channel I haven't posted on over a month.
Oh, okay. Well,
So that, yeah.
Okay.
It just felt like all the same thing. It to me, there felt like no differentiation. I wasn't improving as a person. I kind of maxed out. It's like if you're playing a video game, you kind of maxed out the character.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like, well,
You got all
there's-
the armor,
yeah.
you know, yeah.
And so it's like, well, I'm just playing this game with this maxed out character, but there's no new development.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that you could play.
Where's
you
the
beat all-
expansion pack?
Yeah, it's like or like you hit through all the levels. You've seen it all. So it's like, am I just continuing to play that last game?
Yeah.
Over and over. It felt like there's
I
nothing
get
new.
that.
The podcast for me is something that's a bit different because we get to talk to new people.
Yeah,
all the
you
time.
can have a real like confronting title.
Yeah, confronting me, Kevin. Yeah, exposing.
Yeah.
But now that's why, and
Okay,
and I just
okay.
I felt really uninspired because there's been nothing new for me to really dive into.
That's
and
fair.
so for me, it's just I start dreading.
Okay.
I start dreading it, and that's it's
possible.
bad. Yeah.
It's possible that it's because you know, okay, I have to make a video. I got to do 10 hours of research, and I got to prep what I'm going to say and how I'm going to organize it, and then I got to film it, and I got to edit it. I think when you look at making a video, you're like, I'm going to be 20, 30 hours deep on this video, and I don't think you want to do that anymore. So how about this? Raw Graham reactions. Do the Kevin 5-minute edit on your main channel.
I just don't have the desire. That's
Okay.
the thing. I don't have the motivation.
Okay. Okay.
So
So buy a plane, start 3 companies, go into debt,
7 kids.
7 kids.
yeah. See,
And
but that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know either. If I have like the debt or I have the obligation, if that's going to force motivation, and then I'm thinking, do I want to force the motivation by like taking something on, and then now I have to?
Yes.
I don't want to have to rely on like, oh, I need this thing, or I got
That's
to
a good
do
point.
this thing, or spend this because then I got to make it back.
It's that stress.
Yeah,
you
I
don't
don't
want
like that.
and I get that. Yeah, it's no, I don't envy what I do. I don't recommend all of this insanity that I go through. Like it is stressful, right? And there's a lot, but I guess everybody's different, and I think you're probably on a better path. I think it's a more reasonable path. It's better for when you want to have kids.
Yeah.
So-
Well, for me, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, I feel incredibly lost in terms of like trying to figure out like a passion because like for YouTube,
That's
for,
the tough thing. Is,
Yeah.
like, see, that's the thing is you need something.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is yet, but for YouTube, for me, that was it. It used to be real estate.
Yeah.
For YouTube, it was like every day I'd wake up so excited. to
Are you
be
buying
able
any
to
real
make a video.
estate?
No.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know
I've
that it
looked.
makes
I've
sense to.
looked for a long time. I look at commercial real estate. I don't see a single thing that makes any financial sense to do.
No, especially not in your situation. It doesn't make sense. So it's just been S&P basically.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, but good for you. I mean, A, that's done very well. But also B, yeah, I think you're right. Finding that passion. I think kids might help you.
I don't want to, but then you don't want to crutch. Like I want to be good on my own.
You are good on your own.
No, like to find a passion, to find that thing
something.
again. Yeah, because I don't
Do you
want to
know
have
how
to like
wonderful
rely
it
on
is?
like
I don't
anything else, if that makes sense.
I
You
mean,
know, because then I feel like I'm having a kid to like fill something, or it's like I have this.
I mean,
thing
that's what I
missing,
did.
So like, let's have a child.
that's why I had 7 kids. No, but like, look, I took them, Jack and Max, to some. It's kind of like a dude ranch or whatever out in Wyoming, but it was sort of like some all-inclusive thing where they feed you and everything. It was really nice. And I might not spend all the time with my children, but when I spend time with them, I really love it. And there was this memory that I have of we shot compound bows, and when we went out, we did our little tour, we shot compound bows, whatever. We came back from the trip. Jack logs into Rust, and he's like, "Dad, can you craft me a compound bow?" And in the video game, you know, he pulls it back, and it makes the same sound as the real one. And he shot it, and he's like, "This is so cool. I shot this in real life." And he has that face because he's 8.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is so cool." That feeling is the best feeling in the world. Like, that makes everything worth it for me. Absolutely everything. Like, seeing them excited about things that, frankly, I don't get emotion out of makes me happy again. Like, I don't care about so many things just because it's like, okay, we've sort of like been there, done that. It's like, okay, there's no dopamine hitting this, whatever. Their reactions, their happiness means the world.
Yeah.
Have kids, man.
But then I feel like I'm having kids just to fill something.
So, what a great thing to fill your life with. What a great purpose to have.
I don't think I'm ready yet. I'm not ready.
Okay,
Probably
but
a few years. Probably a few years.
You do it when you're ready, but
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Like, I want something outside of the kids. That's okay too. You can always come over. We could have Mai Tais. That could be a thing. Mai Tais and theme parks. But there's something about children that I think you'll know when you have them, and then you'll wish you wanted them sooner.
I mean, everyone says that. So
I had Jack. How old was I? How old is he now?
You're young.
22, 23, something like that.
yeah, Jack, could you imagine having a 3-year-old right now? Right?
That would be insane.
But it's worth it. It is insane. But it's worth it.
I heard one thing that did alter my perspective on it is that the relationship that you have with your kid, there's no one else on the entire planet that you'll ever meet that all they want to do is love you. And all they want to do is spend time with you and for you to love them back. And to be able to have that relationship is such a blessing. And to be able to have that relationship for as long of a period of time as possible is also a blessing.
Yeah.
So if that's the best possible thing that you can do in your entire life, why would you not want a higher percentage of your life to be able to be bestowed with that?
Exactly. Oh, I totally agree with that. I think that's a great answer for you. And then I also think I want many of them. You know, and I think the quantity thing is just I have this mental problem again. Like I've said, like I've got to build things. So it's building the companies, building employees, and building babies. It's all the same, and I love it. That's all I care about.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you, man.
Kevin.
I really appreciate
Thank
coming
you.
on.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on the show. It's always such a good time seeing you.
Yeah.
We're going to go get some sushi.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And maybe
All
next
right.
time.
All right, we'll see.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Appreciate it.
Kevin, anything, all your stuff linked down below in the description.
Meet Kevin.
Meet Kevin. Thank you guys. Until next time.
MEAT.